What's this? Yep.
Bom dia, Portugal!
In Portugal, there's a YouTube show full of fun facts you need to know. Carl rings the bell and the members show to the GMP morning show. Featured guests will come and they will blow your mind. The audience will do so in kind. A little vanity mixed with some insanity on the morning show with GMP.
Good morning, Portugal, and I'd like to welcome you to another fantastic day.
Hey, you gumpers.
Holiday. Oh, hello, bom dia, alegria, Munson here with the Good Morning Portugal show live stream and podcast. It was so great. I was enjoying the intro video, and then it disappeared. And then I was here on the screen with you. How are you? It's May Day, 1st of May, 2023. Lots to tell you about today. It is a bank holiday, hence not having not being properly groomed and shaved this morning. But not just that, we've been touring and we've had the most amazing weekend up in the north of Portugal. We went up to Ponte Lima. Thank you so much, John, Pam, and Owen, for inviting and hosting us up there in Ponte Lima. And so nice to see so many other familiar faces, including Bob and Viv up there, and Neil. Good morning to you if you're already tuned in. All of you who made our trip up to the north of Portugal, such fun. It was great, really, really good, long overdue. A little bit of a video to share with you this morning. And talk of Beltane, of the 1st of May, the significance of the 1st of May, Primeiro de Maio, of course, here in Portugal. And at 9, we'll continue that conversation with James. Mindful Migration Monday, of course, is as well. James Holley will be with us, the Fraser of the Good Morning Portugal community, reflecting on what it is to migrate mindfully. And then, of course, when you're here, how to live mindfully and happily. He has a psychotherapeutic. In fact, he has, I was going to say, messed with the inside and the outside of heads. He has taken good care of the inside and the outside of heads of human beings, given a background in hairdressing and in psychotherapy. And here he is now in Portugal. I think he's had a busy weekend as well. So I'll find out all about that at 9 o'clock this morning. Let's hang out with you until then. And actually at 10 o'clock, given that it is this will make more sense as I unpack Labour Day, May the 1st, International Workers' Day, Beltane, Primeiro de Maio, and Maias here on the Good Morning Portugal show this morning. The Iberian FM talking point will be, what is an evil spirit in 2023? My goodness, isn't that a good subject to talk about? I mean, we tend to think, don't we, of evil spirits as being the domain of our ancestors, who are a little bit more superstitious and basic, primal perhaps, than we are. In our age, evil spirits, we've taken care of all of that, haven't we? But I don't think so. I really don't. And I'm not going to go all fire and brimstone on you, but I just think we have, if we reflect on that today, given that it is May the 1st, Beltane, and the pagan and naturalistic, is that the right? I don't think, maybe that isn't the right word, but certainly the Celtic pagan Beltane significance of May the 1st, we might want to look at what is an evil spirit in the current times. God Squad tip of the day, of course, to come. Great deep thoughts. Stop it, Bobby. That's exactly what I am not trying to encourage this morning, the personalization of what is an evil spirit, honestly. Morning to you, Bobby. Do you celebrate Beltane? It's a massively Irish festival. I'm really quite. I'm not going to complain about being tired, but it's been quite the weekend. So the words might not be there, the sentences and communication might be more convoluted and elaborate and random than usual. What I mean to say, Bobby, given that I'm looking at Wikipedia and Beltane, it is mentioned in the earliest of Irish literature as Beltane and is associated with important events in Irish mythology. Is it something you remember from growing up in Ireland? And do you still celebrate to this day, Bobby O'Reilly, Beltane, as our really our token Irishman here this morning. Others may, of course, our American friends here may wish to declare themselves as being properly Irish too. Of course they do, like Joe Biden did recently. Does anyone have any connection to Beltane here? When I say 1st of May to you, are you thinking, what's your first thought? Like, yay, we're going to burn a wicker man later on today, or we're going to march on the town in a gesture of solidarity with the workers? Or are you going to gather? Probably, if you were going to gather broom flowers, you'd have probably done it yesterday, of course. And I've got some lovely photographs of broom flowers. I believe got a lot of pictures to show. I haven't loaded them up yet, but that is a massive part of the significance of May the 1st here. And given it was really great because we were in the north of Portugal, of course, and it's especially significant, I think, up there in the north of Portugal. For example, where we stayed with John and Pam, I got a message when we got home to say that the neighbours had visited. And if you look at the gate post there are some broom flowers and a little bit of a close-up. Neighbours visit neighbours in the north of Portugal. I think probably all over Portugal, to be fair, and give each other broom flowers. We'll come back to the significance of those in just a little while. But how lovely. And thanks again, John and Pam João de Norte. Here's a cookie. This is just to launch. Actually, some of the I was going to say some of the gentlemen. That's very sexist of me, but more likely the gentlemen will be interested in this. There we are. There's João de Norte in the middle. We're outside the women's prison. Not for any direct or obvious reason. It's just it happens to be a cafe that's built next to the interior where we moved, because it started to rain, as it does in the north of Portugal. But we will be dispelling the myths of the weather in northern Portugal in a podcast that John and I recorded yesterday. But yeah, it's a bit drizzly. It was April, of course. Of course, it was drizzly at times, but it was also very beautiful and hot up there. Here we are, sat outside the cafe that part of which is made and beautifully designed inside the ancient women's prison of Ponte Lima. But this is the moment where we thought, in conversation via WhatsApp with Frank in the Algarve, that we would have a get-together for the Man City-Man United final on June the 3rd. So there's going to be a gathering of Gumpers on June the 3rd. This is around about the moment we thought that would be a great idea. Was beer involved at that point? I don't know, but it is a great idea that we meet up on June the 3rd. So excellent to get Owen and Frank together, Man City, Man United fans respectively. Me and John, I don't think too much skin in the game, but a great time I suspect will be had by all on June the 3rd. So drop me a line if you're interested in that. We haven't decided yet whether we're going down to the Algarve. Maybe I can get everyone to come here to the Welsh bar in San Martino de Porto. Is there anybody who wants to host that? Is there anybody whose heart's desire would be to host a Manchester Derby FA Cup final in their town or at their place on June the 3rd and invite other Gumpers? Do let me know. Come back to the Ponte Lima pictures in a little while. Yes, Sarah, it was so fantastic to meet you on Saturday as well. Loved that. You were in the area, fancy meeting up. Yes, and it all came together very beautifully. And yes, we still all got goosebumps, I think, from the conversations and the gathering and the happening that happened on Saturday. It was really wonderful. So let's go back to the time when people were saying to me, is there a show today? Actually, to be completely transparent with you, I didn't post the show, this morning's show, until I think about 7:45 this morning. It got lost in the melee. All, best intentions, took the outside broadcast kit, was going to broadcast, was going to do all sorts, was going to drive back via parts of Portugal where we used to live. The plan was very adventurous. It was fantastic, and not all of it came to fruition. That was how it was. There were lovely plot twists like the walk in the countryside yesterday. So not everything happened that was meant to happen, and not everything's happening today that's meant to happen either. It's a bit like that, but it's May Day. It's a bank holiday. Take a chill pill. Be Portuguese about it. And wish everybody around you now a Bom Dia Alegria Gumpers, as T-Duck did at 7:55 this morning. And a happy May Day to everybody. Yeah, so do let me know. First thought then, when I say 1st of May, is it about the workers? Is it about the evil spirits and warding them away? What comes to mind for you? Is it Beltane? Are you a pagan? Deep thought of the day then. My grandfather once told me that there were two kinds of people, those who do the work and those who take the credit. He told me, continues Gandhi, of course, here, to try to be in the first group, there was much less competition. Indira Gandhi. There's me trying to pretend that I was associating and knowing that was Mahatma Gandhi. Indira Gandhi. Whoops, should read ahead, Carl. Indira Priyadar. Oh, here we go. Indira Priyadarshini Gandhi was an Indian politician and stateswoman who served as the third Prime Minister of India from 1966 to 1977 and from 1980 until her assassination in 1984. How awful, eh? But good words there. My grandfather once told me that there were two kinds of people, those who do the work and those who take the credit. And he told me to be in the first group. There was less competition there. Indira Gandhi, thank you very much for that deep thought of the day. And a Portuguese saying now. Actually, what I'm going to do, I hope he's not listening now, because I'm going to say this to him as though I'm weaving it in naturally to the conversation. So I'll come back to that when I see James in a little while. The Quem Sabia today, May 1st isn't just, here we go. So we'll start talking about the International Workers' Day and May the 1st relevancies this morning. May the 1st isn't just International Women's Day. See what I did there? Did you notice the obvious mistake? May the 1st isn't just International Workers' Day. It's also a traditional spring holiday. Although compared to some European countries, Portuguese celebrations tend to be rather muted. May the 1st in Portugal is also a day for protecting homes from evil for the year ahead, a tradition which is similar to the Gaelic Beltane. Thank you for this, Quem Sabia. It brings it all together rather nicely, T-Duck. Cheers. Every year, sprigs of yellow broom are wedged into doors and windows, and even into your dagenham cleavage if you're bending down at the time of a well-meaning neighbour. So anything, I think, where yellow broom can be wedged, it will be. Probably yesterday in the run-up, and maybe today as well. Maybe that will continue. And that's happening then, on the eve, there you go, of May the 1st to ward off the Maios, a.k.a. the devil, the evil spirits, for the rest of the year. Some people put them on barn doors, cars and garages, as well as their homes. That's the yellow flowers rather than the evil spirits. Right, do you know what? I'm going to do the dad jokes, or at least some of them now, because I don't like it when I save them and then I forget to say them in the climactic atmosphere of the end of the show as we tend to transition in. Dad joke time is just before the Iberian FM phone-in time, where today we'll be talking about evil spirits. What is the relevance of evil spirits in this time? Actually, on Wednesday, is it Wednesday or Thursday? Let me just have a look. I've been talking to Andrew Bryant, who quite liked the recording I made, the phone-in I did about why people get triggered. I don't know if he liked it because it got cut off prematurely, but we're picking up on that. And he has very kindly, let me have a look. I think it's this Wednesday, is coming to talk to us about self-leadership, sovereignty, and dealing with disagreement. Not with Andrew necessarily, but just generally speaking. Non-violent communication is going to be coming into that as well. Yeah, it's Wednesday. We're talking to Andrew Bryant, who's worked in the field of personal development for 25 years and has much to say on the matter. And so we'll be talking to him, self-leadership, sovereignty, and dealing with disagreement at 10 o'clock on Wednesday. Also, that's with Andrew Bryant, and we'll have James Blick on Friday on May the 5th. It's May already, everybody. It's May Day today. May Day. So James Blick will be in on Friday to talk about, Spain Revealed. There he is. Spain Revealed. You'll have seen him in these wonderful videos, I suspect. Top chap, and I'm expecting to have a great conversation with him. That's our Iberian FM daily phone-in. Although I think I'll bring him in a little bit earlier, perhaps 9:30 on Friday, talking to James Blick. And tomorrow evening, we are talking about investing in Portugal, starting a business in Portugal with the wonderful Raquel and Stephen White. Bobby, you might like to join us for that as well, actually. So that's a special tomorrow evening. That's our Hello America, This is Portugal special. Let's send a message out to the world that Portugal is still a great place to invest in. And Stephen has a few ideas and plans and schemes that he mentors people in here in Portugal. He lives here and is starting businesses. He's not at all worried about confidence when it comes to, he's got plenty of it when it comes to starting a business. And Raquel can help with the nuts and bolts of starting a business. That's tomorrow night at 9 o'clock. Although I don't think we've decided whether that's 8 or 9, but certainly tomorrow evening we'll be doing that. Tonight, of course, it's the Care and Share get together, the closed circle. Mama Bear, of course, sending lots of love to Mama Bear, who's had a cancer diagnosis in the last week. And she's a mainstay, a founding and guiding light of the Share and Care Portugal group. and we have our Death Cafe. Cheerful stuff. It is actually. We talk openly about life and death, and that'll be at 7. I think that's 7 till 8. I've got all, just taking a weekend off and it being a bank holiday. I'm just everything's gone to cock, as it were, as we say in the UK, which does raise an eyebrow too, of course. And so I believe that's 7 till 8 this evening. And then at 8, it is the wine club. The wine club, again, is really feral tonight. I think Pete's doing is he doing a liqueur of some sort? He was doing some sort of top shelf business, wasn't he? Typically, or a Pete Bleach. And is he leading the tasting? I don't know if Garvo's tuned in. Can you let me know? The wine club really, I mean, I'll be there. Don't get me wrong. I'll be there at 8 with something to drink and we'll hang out and chat. And we'll these early mornings are killing me. Who's that? So we'll be hanging out, having a drink. We'll have our Death Cafe at 7 or thereabouts, 7 till 8, and at 8 the wine club. So join us for that. I open something up. If we do find out what the official booze is tonight, I'll let you know in the chat. That'll be Pete, Garvo, or one of the boozers. Do let us know in the chat what we're drinking, but just bring anything along, hang out, have a chat. It's always good fun anyway, from 8. And it's kind of open-ended, it would appear. Sometimes it goes on even with a lock-in afterwards. We go off air and chat behind the scenes. So if you fancy that, do join us at 8. And if you want to be involved in the Death Cafe, which is offline, the sort of things we talk about, a bit more intimate and personal, just drop me a line on that same WhatsApp number, 913-590-303. My goodness, it's not exactly going to be a leisurely bank holiday today, is it? So much going on. So we have James joining us in about 12 minutes. Let's say a few hellos and let's do that God Squad tip of the day and give you one dad joke already this morning as a bank holiday treat. I just opened a flower shop. Business is blooming. I'm not going to, should we do another one? I'm not going to the May Day parade today. My friend says it's perfectly safe, but I see a lot of red flags. James is here and he will say this again himself. Bom dia, campers. Feliz segunda a todos. Como foi o vosso fim de semana? How was your weekend? Do let us know, please, how your weekend was. Another week charges over the horizon. Is that how it feels, Coach Turner? Seemingly with ever-increasing speed. Make the most of it. These weeks are coming around, and these months are coming around very quickly, aren't they? It's the 1st of May. In case you were thinking it was still February of 2022, it's actually the 1st of May, 2023, today. We're heading out later for dinner with eldest grandson. He's 16 tomorrow. What a fantastic age. What is it like to be a 16-year-old in 2023, I wonder? God Squad tip of the day then. Feet and ankles. Is that Cockney rhyming slang? Get your feet and ankles, girls. It was feet and ankles last week. Legs this one. Squats are probably the best strength exercise of all for legs. With feet a shoulder's width apart and parallel, lower your hips. The hips don't lie, remember. Try to keep your back straight rather than curving it. Lower down as far as you can. Slowly, then back up a little faster. Okay, so it's slow on the downstroke, quick on the upstroke, and build up to 3 sets of 10. Now, Dougie it came in at that point. Ian, I'm going to need all the rehab I can get. I was wondering when to mention this news, but our dear Doug is in hospital, probably for a few weeks, with a pelvic fracture. And so maybe he was doing a little bit of up on the downstroke over the weekend and fractured his pelvis. Do you want to share how this happened, Dougie? We are sending our much Gumper love and a sprinkling of Gumper dust over that pelvic area. Who doesn't like Gumper dust sprinkled over their pelvic area first thing in the morning, especially for you then, Dougie, this morning. So get well soon and mend soon. Get some of that nip bone herbs and get cats purring or whatever it takes. Get everything. Let's throw everything we've got, but not too vigorously towards Dougie's pelvis at the moment, which is fractured. Joao Denor asking, you're going to have to tell us what happened, Doug. So I think he will this morning. And I was shocked to hear that news when you told me yesterday, Doug. Do please tell everybody what happened and what we can do for you more than anything. I imagine you might be tuned in more than usual. I hope so. I hope we can be of help and of good cheer for you at this difficult time for you, Doug. Good morning, everyone, from Andy. And oh no, says Coach Turner, really sorry to hear that, Doug. Unfortunately, you'll just have to do the rehab exercises to recover fully. Hard but worth it. Yes, you just have to do the rehab exercises. Just do it, Dougie. But first things first, get yourself settled, de-stressed, and I'm sure Coach Turner can help. I'm sure you'll have some physiotherapeutic help at your end in hospital too. Saudações, great to see you here, Jean. How are you? Saudações in Alegria, in Algarve, e Alegria de Bela e Ensolarada Moncarapaccio. That's why you're not often with us. No school today then, bank holiday. Sem escola hoje. Tequila is an evil spirit, in my experience. I don't think you're alone in that. There, Coach Turner. Deagles in Belfast. Bon dia, Colin Campus from a nice dry Belfast. 1st of May. Not much heat about. 8 degrees at the present, but it should hit 11. Susanna Atkinson, good morning to you. Hello from agricultural Bocage, Normandy. And so you're out in the countryside there, Susanna. Normandy, France. Holiday races à locally. No, nothing about Beltane when Bobby was growing up in Ireland there. First thought on May Day, and that'll be dancing around the maypole. Ooh, fruity. I don't know who that is, who these early mornings are killing. 1st of May is first of May. First, though, is spring gardening, plenty of time outdoors. Every dry day now is a day outside. Nice one. Owen, bon dia. After a fantastic weekend, it's back to the Horta plants to tend to. Great to see you, mate. I've got some great photos of you. Bon dia, Alegria from a warm and windy VRSA, Sweden, Portugal. Anna, how you doing, Anna? I haven't forgotten your photos. So happy to see the family all together here in Pontelima, Carl. Great to meet the Taylors as well. Yeah, absolutely. Joao de Nort, truly a weekend to remember and cherish. Lots of memories too. It's really, really good. Lee McGrady, good morning, people. Good morning to you, Lee. Talking just a couple more pickies then if I can squeeze them in. Actually, no, I'm not going to squeeze them in. I'm going to lavishly insert them at this point. There's me and Mrs. M at that wonderful avenue of plane trees by the river there. Thank you very much. Lovely picture of us, Joao de Nort. Thank you for capturing that. It was really, really superb. Thank you. There are more to come. I will share some of these with James when he's here. Leisurely show today. I do love bank holiday traffic. Bank holiday? I'm working. Oh, sorry to hear that, Lee. Have an extra coffee or beer and think of us this morning. Bon dia, Andy. Let's play Andy's video in just a moment. If you're looking for something to do today, there's a super folk dancing event in Gafanha de Aveiro. Maybe a good place to purchase a gaff as well, says Andy, whose video will play in just a moment. So it's Tabitha, who's struggling with the early morning. And 1 or 2 great ideas manifested over the weekend. They certainly did. And they'll slowly come back to us, won't they? It was one of those weekends where so much was done, so much friendship and fun was enjoyed that you later on this week thinking, we hatched that plan as well. We need to talk about that. So here's Andy's video from the weekend. It's a bit windy, everybody, but then again, so aren't we all from time to time?
Bon dia, Alegria, from the lovely Barra. Probably very windy, noisy. It's a bit windy today. But there's the beach, look. Very nice. They've had problems with the boardwalk. It's been blown out by the storms, but they're fixing them up. That Illuminous tower thing, that's quite new. There's the boats out there fishing. I don't know if you can see them there in the distance. And there's some big, I don't know, container one, I guess. There's the fishing guys. And there we are. Whoop! Jabelish!
What happened? He was all right at the end there. He's crazy, isn't he? There he is cycling along. What are they called? Those things that stick out into the sea like that. The breakwater, is it? He's cycling along one-handed, making a video, talking to the camera. At any moment, he could have gone out of control and dropped off the edge there. Andy, please don't go to such danger and peril for us. Perilous scenes there by Barra in the Aveiro district. Thank you so much, Andy, for that. What I'm going to do now, so it's not too clunky or awkward with the company we're about to welcome. I am going to play another video from Pontelima. You may have seen the first one on YouTube, on our YouTube channel over the weekend, which I recorded of the fish ladder. Here's the second. And the third, we have another from the beautiful Miradouro looking from above the town. That will go up onto YouTube. But this was the intermediate video that was made featuring Mrs. M and a few big dongs. Well, part 2 of our Ponte Lima video. Look, I'm going to look out over the River Lima now. I've got some fabulous pictures to share with you of the Lima River and Ponte Lima today. Look, here's a church, everybody, with an unusual spire, Moorish-inspired spire. And as we walk back round, and I'll show you a view of the bridge. Actually, if we hang out a little bit longer, we might be in time for the church bells. But look, here's the bridge, the old bridge, medieval bridge across the water. Isn't that special? We've got a bit of Hotel California, which is actually very appropriate because I think this is like the Hotel California. You can leave but you can't go, or you can go but you can never leave. I think once you've been here to Ponte Lima, I mean, we're just talking about this, the magic and the mystique of the north of Portugal, and I think this town in particular, which doesn't want to be a town, wants to remain a village. I understand the people of Ponte Lima do not want to be a city. They want to retain a village status. That's their special town garden of Ponte Lima. It's a garden town. It has some kind of special classification. And look, Bon Camino. It is on the Camino route as well. Look at this. And that is the greeting you offer to the passing pilgrims on the Camino de Compostela. Santiago de Compostela. I think you're thinking to yourself, Munson doesn't really know what he's talking about. Nothing new there, but you know what I'm talking about, the pilgrimage route through Spain and through Portugal as well. And if we're lucky, we're going to hear these magnificent, who doesn't like a big dong later in the afternoon when you're savouring the beauty of somewhere like Ponte de Lima. Look at that bridge. Isn't that fabulous? The sound of Hotel California. The guy was playing, the busker here was playing Don't Stop Me Now. Like two great tunes, Don't Stop Me Now. I'm having such a good time here in Portugal. And the Hotel California, mirrors on the ceiling. And a place where once visited, it stays with you. And like I've said before, people visit here and they don't come back. And there you go, the big dongs. Talking of people who like a big dong first thing, what do you think? What do you think of Ponte Lima, Mrs. M?
It's rather nice.
It's not bad at all, is it?
Yeah, I could quite enjoy it.
It's horrible, says Minnie. She's kidding.
I could quite enjoy it first thing in the morning.
You could enjoy
it first thing in the morning.
Right, okay.
Like you say, who doesn't like a big dong in the morning? I love a big dong in the morning.
Thank you. Let's leave her there. She's had a bottle of Douro red wine. It could get spicy. Let's hope so, huh? The night is young. Okay, well, let me just give you that last view of Ponte Lima there from the other side of the river, looking back over the town. The beautiful promenade on the other side of the water there, where Spanish people come and enjoy Portuguese life. Truly Iberian afternoon. Notice lots of Spanish people who come and show off in Ponte Lima. It's a thing. And the Portuguese folks are going about their life here. It's so lovely in the lanes. The Letra brewery, and I think it's called the Leiteria, their craft brewery. Fantastic. We've had such a lovely time here this afternoon. Ladies and gentlemen, I'll give you Pontalima there, and this time with the mic fader up. We can't hang about. We got other people to meet and see today. Here we go. Hola, bom dia, alegria. Tudo
Bom
bem?
dia!
Oh, hold on a minute. Where's the hat? Where's the stairs?
Oh, yeah, different background again.
Yes. Oh, and thank you for wearing that very helpful T-shirt.
Yeah, I always wear it when I travel.
James, how are you? Tudo bem? Como estás?
Fantástico, obrigado. E tu?
Muito bem. And it's at times like this, I think to myself, Maio e o mês em que canta o cuco.
What? Say that again. Oh, there it is. But before, I don't want to look at the translation yet. All right.
Okay.
May is the month in which you sing the cuckoo. The cuckoo sings.
When I sing like a cuckoo. No, when the cuckoo sings.
Okay.
Also,
not bad.
It's a month when we all sound a bit cuckoo, I think, with the sap rising and the spring hormones doing something to us.
Vai dar banho do ucal.
What, having a bath of hot chocolate, is that? What?
Cal, não chocolate.
Oh, I think you said ukal, the famous
ucal.
Yes. All right.
The dog.
Bath the dog, of course, yes.
We did that last week. Go bathe the dog.
Go bathe the dog, mi amigo. Well, where are you, James? What's going on?
I'm in Espinho, and I was trying to get the view out my window, but it's just all backlit, bright, I see. So let me see if I pull myself out of it, if I can actually show you what's in that window.
Oh, Espinho. Hello to you. Oh, that's beautiful, James.
And that building right there is the Espinho Casino.
And so you're one of your famous gambling weekends where you lose everything and then build it all back up again.
That's right. Making my millions doing this show.
Rock and roll. That looks fantastic. So Espinho.
So I can leave people frustrated now that they can't see the background.
Well, we've got a lovely glimpse of it there. May we ask what takes you there? Because I have heard of Espinho, and people speak of it very highly as a possible place to live here in Portugal. It's very beautiful, isn't it?
Well, yeah. My first interest came when I was on the train heading north to Vila Nova de Gaia to see Hank and Connie, and I was on the west side of the train heading north. So as we approached this area, I could see the ocean from the train. I said, oh, that's not far. And then we pulled into a station that was the same distance from the ocean. It was like 3 blocks roughly worth of distance from the train station to the ocean. I said, oh, I need to check this out. That's easy access to transportation north-south, Porto to Lisboa, and even possibly the Algarve when you have access to the train. It's next to the ocean, which is where I want to be. So I said to put that on my list of places to explore once I get my driver's license. I've been very frustrated on that one, but as long as I can get on a train, I can still do some traveling. So
we'll have a driving license update because people are feeling your pain and wanting to know what's going on. But that is, yes. Look at this. Look, the cowboy hat. In future, could you please take the hat with you on your travel?
I've actually got it. It's hanging. Where is it? It's hanging on the wall, I think, in the entry hall.
What's this? Joel Denort, Slug's friend, sounds cowboy hat background. I'm properly disoriented.
Should I go get it and put it behind my head?
I think that would be really helpful if you don't.
No.
Right. No, he's not really going to do that, but he might next time he's on tour. So, well, I do that myself when I'm traveling around. I like squirreling away possibilities for the future. Sounds like you're quite similar like that. So Espinho, with its proximity to the railway station, sounds like a good idea for anyone else who doesn't use a car. So it's a good place to visit when you're a public transport user.
Yeah, and it's about 30 minutes by the local train from Porto. So it's easy access from there as well. A little closer from Vila Nova de Gaia, where Hank and Connie are.
Yeah.
They actually came down and visited yesterday. Being a little further north, it tends to be cooler in general, but only by a couple of degrees. So it doesn't get as hot in the summertime, and it doesn't get quite as cold as often in the wintertime as Ericeira. Now, I'm not at all looking to leave my beloved Ericeira. I love the place, but I want to be open. My initial thought was, okay, well, I'll land here, and then I'll start exploring and see if I get a sense of a more permanent place for me. It's just that my idea was I would be driving around in a rental car, seeing all kinds of places all over Portugal, and it's been a year and a half, and that hasn't happened yet. So
yes,
see my passive aggressive subtle complaining going on here.
I missed it. That was so good. I missed it.
Let it go. Let it go.
We'll come back to a driving license update. We want to hear your insights and reflections when it comes to mindful migration. But I want to ask you about that then. I mean, that just sounds to me like a classic. It's not gone quite as planned in Portugal story. And we all have those, don't we? Mate, I'm 5 years in. And you know, me and Mrs. M had quite the heated discussion, aka argument on the way home. Yes, we were away for a weekend, the most beautiful weekend. And every time we go away for a weekend in Portugal, we're thinking, you know, is this somewhere where we might live at some time in the future? And it brings up all the stuff about home and, you know, how it's, I think for Mrs. M, you know, how it's been so long since she might have thought she would be in a home that she loved and was longer term than the place we currently are at. But I don't think this is unusual for people in Portugal, notwithstanding a few notable examples who are tuned in this morning who've just said, right, this is it, I'm going there, all done and dusted. But for many of the rest of us, the adventure, and it's like it's a good thing and a bad thing about Portugal, the San Martinho de Porto syndrome, you know, how we are lured to yet another beautiful place and our mind is kept open and we don't limit ourselves. Okay, this is definitely it. It's quite the thing here in Portugal. People's plans don't go according to plan.
Yeah, well, for me, I have the added advantage of being solo and having pretty much everything I own fit into a suitcase, a carry-on, and a backpack. So, I mean, I could literally pack up and leave in a half hour from any place I am easily. Wow. Yes. So it certainly lends itself to a sense of impermanence. But one of the things I've been looking at as I've been in Ericeira for a year and a half and am only now beginning to see what else might be available along the coast. That's primarily my interest. The ocean calls me. I want to be on it or near it. So that helps. There's still a lot of coast. But one of the things I've noticed, and Hank and Connie and I have actually talked about this, one of the things that does happen is even if you land in one place with the idea of it being temporary, you begin to build relationships. You begin to get familiar with where you are, and that feels more comfortable than not being familiar with it. Yes. And so it becomes more and more difficult to leave that place by virtue of the relationships that you've established and the lifestyle that you've established in that place. So it's more difficult actually for me to keep my mind open to say, all right, is this someplace I really don't care for, or is it just uncomfortable because it's brand new and it's not familiar to me? And so it's a different way of trying to measure. You know, if I had landed here, maybe I would feel the way I do here, and you just don't know. Yeah. So keeping the mind open, a lot of the conversation that I've been having with Hank and Connie about this, and Hank is highly invested in me making the move because it puts me within 30 minutes of where he lives. And of course, where he lives in his mind is the best place in the world. There's no place that beats it. So, you know, you've got to come here, you've got to come here. And so you don't need to sell me, Hank. I'm breaking it down. And he's someone who just like gets on it. He gets an idea and bam, bam, bam. He's got from thought to solution in 5 minutes.
Yes.
So he's like, so where are you at? Where are you at? And I was like, I'm still considering. I may come back for another visit. You know, I visited one day. Now I spent a weekend, get a sense of how it feels to be here. You know, he's like,
Yeah.
come on. I know you're going to love it. You're going to love it.
Hi, James. Have you made any more plans to be nearer to us yet?
Yes, exactly. Yeah, well, and that's literally on WhatsApp 2 days, less than a week ago. He said, so any progress in your plans to move to Spino?
Yeah,
I love him. He's great. I love his energy. He's so enthusiastic. He's so a fan and in love with Portugal. He and Connie bought a new apartment that we were going to be in Ireland this weekend, but then they had to be here this weekend to sign the ownership papers. So we had to change that plan. So I said, okay, well, I was planning on being somewhere anywhere. I'll go to Spino. And they said, oh, well, we could come visit you because all we have to do is sign the papers. So, oh, yeah, and we have to move out of our current place because it's the end of the month. And we don't have a place to live if the paperwork doesn't go through, which it didn't. So they're having a much faster version, but the same kinds of frustrations about assuming their newly purchased property as I am around my driver's license. It's just something you just have to understand and get used to, is that things don't always go according to plan and often get delayed.
In so many ways. That's the theme. That's the theme of the morning, then, isn't it? You know, the plot twists and the unexpected, and your Portugal plan might not turn out in quite the way you imagined. I think this country might offer that as a service to human beings. It's almost like a sort of a Greek myth, isn't it? Of the deeply attractive siren of a country luring you towards her. And you think, okay, that's good. I love Portugal. I'm going there, and it's going to be like this. The first bit, it turns out to be true. For often you end up there, but it doesn't quite go according to plan thereafter. I don't know if there is a character in Greek mythology that offers that to human beings, but Portugal, the country, certainly does, I would think. I think many people here watching and those who will watch later will either resonate with that or find it out to be true later on.
Which lends itself perfectly to the idea I had of what I wanted to talk about today, which was sort of spinning off of what you and Frank were talking about on Friday. But before I get into it, I have this heroic experience that I really want to share. I gave myself plenty of time to get to the audience station in Lisboa to catch the train, because I don't want to be in a hurry and having a heart attack because the train's about to leave as I'm pulling into the station. So I give myself plenty of time. All that was done. I sat on waiting to board the train. There were more people on the platform than any of my previous trips. Just the entire platform was stacked with people, 10 deep through the entire length of it. I said, wow, on a Saturday. And said, well, it is a holiday weekend, so people going places. At any rate, I was at the bottom of the escalator, and there were two women in front of me. One seemed to be a little bit, hobbled. She wasn't walking like just firm and clear, and she was pulling her carry-on behind her, and she pulled it around in front of her to get on the escalator. So she put the bag on first, and something in me said, pay close attention. Yeah. I don't know why, but I was looking at her feet to see where they were on the escalator. And I noticed her heel was about that far over the edge of the step she wanted to be on with the carry-on in front of her. And I said, okay, well, my experience is if even that little tiny bit of a heel, there's a tendency to fall backwards, and you're moving upwards, leaning backwards to the downhill where gravity is pulling you. And I was so on top of it, I noticed the heel slip a little bit, and I immediately put my hands on her back and leaned into her. Like, I don't know you from Adam, but if I don't do this, you and everyone behind you is going to end up on their asses backwards going down this escalator. Yes. And mostly it was her I was thinking about. And then I started, like, I felt gravity pulling me. It's like,
Oh.
she's pushing me down. And so I did a quick shift of my feet, and I just put my whole body, I just leaned into her. And she was like, well, I'll tell you this in a minute, but she was like struggling to get her footing, but she kept, so for a minute there, I was like, I don't know where this is going. And finally she got her footing, she got upright, but she was laughing the entire time.
Right.
Laughing. It's like, we could all die and you're laughing. And her friend and forever was kind of looking at her going, and she's like, oh. It's like, what is going on here? I'm sure it was, nervous. It was fear. It was laughter from fear. But I can't say honestly that I saved a life, but I certainly saved a hospital visit on a travel day for a pair of people who were.
And the chaos, the other part of the chaos you mentioned there, as she dominoed back down the escalator, taking other people out as well.
And as I said, it was more crowded than ever. So they were people 2 by 2, 10 or 12 steps behind me, all going up the escalator. So another 25 people were destined for being knocked flat on their asses.
You get one of these. I think I was going to give you a round of applause, but I think it needs to be a little bit more significant than that. Where is it? Here we go. Take it, man. Well done. Superb. I think we need a superhero name for you. If we could have.
But I knew where I was the whole time. So.
As in what? You had presence of mind. Oh, you had your T-shirt on.
I was here. I was there.
That might be what she remembers of this event. She might be telling this story to her family and friends. And I looked around, and this man who was pushing me back up the escalator, and I looked at his T-shirt, and he said, "You
knew exactly where he was."
Yes. Well, we need a superhero name for you, Holley Man, something like that. Slugman, of course. His spidey senses.
Planet Man.
And in the movie, James, what would have happened was you'd have squirted slug slime around her and glued her to the escalator.
There you go. Yeah. Or made everyone slip and fall, and it was a comedy.
No. You can't have that. Well, maybe that's what can happen in the comic moments of the new Marvel. What's it called? Concession.
Yes.
Slugman 2. There are some funny moments where people slip over on the slug slime.
Comedic relief is that what they call it? Whatever.
Yeah.
Ease the tension. Yeah.
A little bit of a counterpoint in the drama of the movie. But there you go. Covering people in slug slime to save their lives and changing the view of slugs. And of course, salt is what you're avoiding throughout the whole movie. And Salt Man, the other, your nemesis. Anyway, I think Hollywood will be on the phone to us before the end of the show.
Probably, yeah.
With
some point soon.
All right, I want to show you a few more photos with you.
Sure.
And you've got a dad joke, a visual dad joke meme to share, and also a bit more of the significance of the 1st of May. You were first on it with what does the 1st of May mean to you? I hadn't even thought of fertility rituals and dancing around maypoles. Is this something you've done in the past?
It's funny. I was going to make another comment, then 2 or 3 comments had already been through. I said, no, Carl, we'll never get to it in time where it makes any sense at all. So, but I would say I was not talking about me when I was talking about dancing around the maple.
Oh, okay, fair enough. Right.
It's just the question was, what's your first thought? And
yes.
That's what came in.
That's what came in.
Young girls in frilly dresses going around the pole.
Skipping around the maypole, that's right. In Portugal, May 1st celebration, Primeiro de Maio, was harshly repressed during the right-wing dictatorship of Antonio de Oliveira de Salazar. When we found out a lot about Salazar and Caetano, of course, because we were celebrating the Carnation Revolution on the 25th of April. But since that time, Workers' Day, which it is today, Dia do Trabalhador, is celebrated by unions, but as well by several leftist political parties with parades and demonstrations. The first demonstration after the Carnation Revolution, only 1 week after the fall of the Caetano government and the Novo Estado regime, remains the biggest demonstration in the history of Portugal. So we don't often hear about that, do we? But it would appear that after the great moment, the emotional moment of Carnation Revolution, on the 1st of May in the following week, people took more to the streets in even greater number because they could and they were allowed to. So at that point, I think the computer is not enjoying Labor Day, or it's laboring under the weight of processing, and we're getting frozen and all sorts of things. But anyway, that's the kind of political significance of the First Amendment. Up the workers around the world. Beltane we talked about. Nobody has stepped forward and said, oh yeah, I'll often burn a wicker man at this time of year. We haven't had, and that takes you back to the movie as well, doesn't it? Wicker Man, with, is it Britt Eklund who's in that? Dancing naked by a burning man. I don't know why I remember that. And a little bit more about Portuguese broom, then find out where the Portuguese broom tradition comes from. And we're doing that courtesy of this rather good blog that João de Norte sent us, because he's had his gatepost decorated, not a euphemism, with broom flowers. And we're going to look at the Estranged blog for a little bit more background on this morning, because that's what's been promised on the show. And let's move your banner for a moment. Here's the Frasier of the Good Morning Portugal community. And he
if you must.
If I must, I know. You're hoping I'm going to forget about that at some point. But there you go. There's,
one day.
One day, maybe. So May 1st, call Portuguese Broom Day. Nothing to do with sweeping necessarily, although you will have to sweep up all those broom flowers eventually. There is a tradition all over the country, mainly in rural areas, to decorate the windows with yellow broom on the night of April the 30th to May the 1st. So that's definitely been going on in the actual experience of Gumpers here. It's a very old tradition linked to spring and agricultural rituals, not unlike dancing around a maypole. The tradition sends that on the night of April 30th to May 1st, people decorate doors, windows, and other places with yellow flowers and broom, the flower, in some places also with decorated straw dolls. And we saw these straw doily things as a way of collecting the wheat in the fields yesterday as we walked through the back lanes of Pontelima. Our ancestors already did this to mark the end of winter and to ask for protection and fertility for the land. The houses were decorated at night, so they were all full of flowers when the day came. Okay, so that's the way to do it. On the eve, last night, you put the flowers in, and as the day comes in, you are warding away evil spirits. There are lands where flowers are placed on the door bolt even. Tradition is called As Maias, the Portuguese broom, and Os Maios, the maize or the flower of May, and is different depending on the regions of the country. And it is also said to put the Portuguese broom at the door. I will now put the link for this rather marvelous article. Not heard of the Estranged blogger before now, but I enjoyed that. Thank you very much, João de Norte, and that's going in the comments. Evil spirits, James. I'm going to talk about this from 10. We tend to think of evil spirits as a little bit quaint and something that our ancestors struggled with, but psychotherapeutically, evil spirits are still with us, are they not?
Well, yeah, in psychotherapeutic terms, the evil and good are all constructs of our internal workings, our mind and what we believe and those kinds of things. My own personal spiritual level doesn't believe there is anything like evil spirits. I believe that people can behave in ways we would describe as evil versus ways we would describe as good. So I don't say there's no evil, there's evil behavior. But my belief system is that the only thing there is really in truth anywhere is love. That's our formation, that's where we come from, and everything else is our opportunity to be able to experience that by what's not it. As I heard it described or read it actually in Conversations with God, the image was given us, pretend that you are floating inside an all white sphere. And all you could see was out of your eyes. So you can't even see your body in there. It's just everything is white. Ooh. So at some point, white has no meaning. It's just what's there.
Yes.
Or what's not there. He says, but introduce the tiniest black spot and everything changes, because now there's white and there's not white, and there's everything and there's this little thing, and so it's the notion of things in contrast to or relative to this goodness or this love. And again, as my oldest son once said to me, Dad, you just tell yourself that shit because it makes you feel good. It's like, yeah.
Bang to rights. Guilty as charged.
Absolutely right, son.
Yeah, absolutely right.
Because again, it goes back to my very strong foundations around choice. Yeah. Everything is choice. So if I can choose to feel good about something or to feel crappy about something, why in the world would I choose the crappy choice? Like, why would I do that if I'm aware that I'm a choice? So he's absolutely right. I did not need to argue with him on that.
Well said, son and dad, on that occasion. And I wasn't expecting that, but thank you very much for that. And I will be talking more about evil spirits from 10 o'clock. Talking of evil spirits, then, how's it going with the driving license?
Well, I think I reported last week that, and I know to not trust my beautiful lady Portugal in things on terms of timing and in terms of bureaucracy. It's like I was sent an email with an appointment time for IMT on May 12th, Friday the 12th. A report to IMT at this time on this day, which implies that they accepted the paperwork that I submitted to them online, and that I'm supposed, and it says bring your documents, so I'll do that. And if I understand the process correctly, at the conclusion of that appointment, I will have a temporary driver's permit. I will have handed over my California driver's license, and I will be awaiting the delivery via the mail of my Portuguese license. Mm-hmm. Now, again, remembering Thunder Duck's experience of being well over a year from the time he went to IMT and submitted his paperwork to the time he actually received his license, I'm hoping that that's my worst case scenario. I mean, worst case scenario is I could show up and they say, no, none of this worked. We need to tell you personally that you need to move out of the country because your license shows that you don't deserve to be here. I mean, that could be a worst case scenario. I don't think it's likely at all likely, but who knows? So I'm going to go with some guarded optimism and not assume, but anticipate that I will have my temporary license at the conclusion of that appointment. And that's after a year of just trying to get to that place, just trying to get to a place where I can submit my paperwork to make my exchange. And again, because I had this conversation with Connie and Hank, they were talking about driver's license and traveling in Europe and driving. And I was like, oh, you can't do that. You've been here longer than 90 days. And they said, oh, that's right. They're young enough. All they have to do is use as long as their California license hasn't expired, it's good here in Portugal. Yeah. So they only did that for the people who were 60 and over. Yep. Why?
All right, let's not get started.
I'm 92. What do I do? It's like, well, you have to do this and you have to do that, and you have to do it 3 or 4 times. You need these documents. You need to submit those there and those there, and then you have to get them apostilled and notarized, and
I think I'll get the bus. Yes. Okay.
What? Come on.
All right.
So I'm just happy we're there, and still holding a bit of a grudge about that. So I'll try not to continue feeding myself that poison.
Yes, well done, well spotted. And I think it's great that you referred to her as Lady Portugal, and we came up with that theme this morning that you love Lady Portugal, she loves you, but she also has surprises for you, that mysterious maiden.
Yeah, and that's the part that leans so well into the conversation I'm intending, is that Frank talked last Friday about what really annoyed him was a sense of entitlement about being in a new place. Yeah. And part of that is expecting your lady love to be something other than she is. It's like, oh, I'm going to have a relationship with this one. And it's like, oh, I wish she was this, or she should be this way, or why doesn't she do it? Anyway, there's a place of entitlement. I started to look. I remembered Jeff Foxworthy, a Southern comedian from the United States, who became famous with "You might be a redneck if."
Oh yes, yeah.
You might be a redneck if you have a transmission in your bathtub.
Suddenly, people realizing
that's
things.
Right. If you use a key as a Q-tip for your ear, you might be a redneck.
That's me. Yes.
Yeah. So I had this idea. The thought came, well, you might be entitled if, and I'll go through some of that list. But the mindful aspect of it is, number one for me is, remember when you arrive, even if you intend to move here and live here, at the beginning, you're still a tourist and a guest in the country. And I think that can be very informative about how should I behave as a new person in this country. And Frank talked about people criticizing, the way Portugal is and so on and so forth. I don't know, just the way I was raised, I don't know what it was, but it's like when you are visiting someone else's home, you don't criticize the decorations. Like no, you don't do that. That's just impolite and rude. So I applied that to being in the country. So I just didn't. And you will hear Portuguese people all the time complaining and criticizing about the politics, about all kinds of things about Portugal. It's like, that's fine. They're Portuguese, just don't say anything. Because I don't have a place yet. I haven't been here long enough to have a place where if I have a negative opinion, I feel like I should keep that to myself for now. Not always. I mean, I think we should all have a mind to being able to make our contribution, but that's the point, make a contribution. So my I'm trying to keep it positive is to practice observation and constructive criticism if necessary, not just a complaint. Complaining is, there's no solution in it. So that's like, consider this the list of ways to behave when you move to Portugal from James Holley's point of view.
Well, I love this idea. I mean, what have we got on our hands here? You might be entitled if, and you've got a series of scenarios, have you?
Yes, I mean, that's coming up. Yes.
All right, but let me say hello to a few people before we do that. That's fantastic.
Oh, just before that, the one other part about being this guest is something I learned early on. I heard, it was probably a comedian, but somewhere along the line, I heard someone say, "Never tell a parent their baby is ugly."
Right. Yeah.
I said, okay. Yes.
Yeah.
Take that to Portugal with you.
Yes. Yeah. And you've managed not to do that all the time.
I have not so far. Well, for the most part.
Okay.
I've gotten a little comfortable with Sidonia and Louisa, and sometimes I overstep. No, yes. I'm not saying it's bad. I just noticed, whatever.
Yes. Yeah. Okay. Well, I'm sure we'll talk about that too when it becomes a little bit of a grey area. Right. Okay. Let's catch up with the hellos and the other people's thoughts on May the 1st this morning. This is what happened to Doug, actually, which is pretty awful. I'm so sorry to hear this, Doug. I was riding my son's motorcycle on our private lane and lost control. I'm lucky to be alive, says Doug, only a shade away from fatal injury, despite a low-speed accident. So sending our very best wishes, Doug, to you. And what a horrible shock and situation to find yourself in there, and a few weeks in hospital by the sound of it. So go well, my friend. Take it easy.
It's such an opportunity to remember how great it is to be alive.
Yes, well, it sounds like he's doing that, right?
Yes. Again, that contrast, right?
Yep.
Something different than being alive. Yikes!
Something different than being alive. Right. Yes, our Share and Care Death Cafe is on tonight between 7 and 8, if you want to pick up on that theme. Bon de Alegria says, Pete, are you leading the wine tasting tonight? I think it's you, isn't it? If so, can you confirm and tell everybody what wine they need to go out and buy on a May Day bank holiday, which would be like Mission Impossible, but it's not beyond us, is it? Or maybe you've got 12 in your cellar that you could deliver around the country before 8 p.m. this evening. Bon de Alegria, happy bank holiday, everyone. Up at 6 and getting Lloyd. Who doesn't like to get Lloyd first thing in the morning? Pete's obviously done that, and fixing and on the tractor, then cut. So did he fix Lloyd? Is Lloyd a dog who's been castrated today? Then cut, sanded and varnished the boards for our bench seats, watered the plants, and now here. Job done. Good day's work. When it gets hot, as I think he's about to say, too hot after midday to do anything except host our friends and builders today, and amazed at how the pool is 15 degrees cooler than the air. That'll be physics doing that. So nice one, Pete. Barandi applauding you on your activity this morning. Well done. I'm replacing the rear suspension on my son's car later. Teenagers, what are they like? Ruining the suspension, or their rear suspension especially. Talking of private lanes, 2 hours, 12 minutes from me, I think Pont Lima. And this is who I've been calling Tabitha, who I think has given me a correction. It sounds like it should be Tabitha. I am like Ibiza, Tabitha in Ibiza. I wonder if I've been saying it wrong all this time and driving her quite mad. Hi all, so lovely to see Ponte Lima again, says Suze. Good morning to you. And that's, yes, one of the oldest Roman bridges in Portugal. Do you think you'll get up as far as Ponte Lima? It doesn't have a railway station, James.
Probably at some point. You know, my intention is to explore as much of the country as I'm interested in.
Yes.
And I'm interested in places that are not against the coast. I just want to live at the coast.
Yeah, well, maybe it's Viana do Castelo for you then, just up the road from Ponte Lima, which would have that for you. Hope you're recovering well, Doug, says Pete. Didn't expect you to be the Hells Angels of the Valleys there. Maybe I will take hubby there for his birthday. Looks lovely. I don't think you'll be disappointed, but then who am I to say what Lady Portugal might have in store for you, having said all of that this morning. But yeah, the chances are you'll have a great time there. Tabitha, I think. Cheers, Owen, for your photos. You're a real farmer, says Antonio F, who's here as well. Portuguese farmers start really early, 5 or 6 during the summer because of the later heat. Look who's here. Bon dia from sunny Gaia, just up the road. We've heard about your situation, Connie, at the moment. Good luck with all of that currently. And yes, sounds like you want James a little bit closer there, which a situation.
Well, Hank does anyway. I can't speak for Connie.
Yeah, maybe Connie doesn't.
I'm sure she's enthusiastic, but she just has a different way of expressing it. That Hank has his own unique way of being quite enthusiastic.
I have been in his company on occasion to notice this. I can only dream of being a proper pharmacist, Pete. I'm just playing at it, but thank you for your generous comments as always. Besides, I would be having coffee with a sniff if I was a proper farmer by now. Absolutely, yeah, your cafe con churrinho. Got a bit, what's this, Antonio? I've got a bit over tan, too much sun last Saturday, but I'm fine. Bank holiday. So even Portuguese people get caught out by the sun then. Okay, by Randy and Pete talking about motors and tractors, I think there. And yes, João de Norte was quite. If you've joined us just recently, James is in Espinho, not in the usual cowboy hatted background that we have become familiar with. Love this, Sarah. Good morning to you. Things don't go to plan in Portugal. We had planned to be in Decatur, Georgia at this point. That's quite specific, isn't it? But yes. It looks like for Sarah, bon dia from you earlier on, she is completely resonating with what we're talking about, Lady Portugal and her plot twists. Espinho, thank you, Antonio F. Port, south of Porto and north of Aveiro has a beach. Although water is colder than in the south, there's a casino and sports activities. Mm-hmm. Several events take place, including music and cinema. I got caught in the traffic of a massive car boot and fruit and veg sale near Povoa de Vargem. Is that a big thing, Antonio? It was incredible. I've never seen so many fruit and veg stalls in all of my life in one little town near Povoa de Vargem or north of Povoa de Vargem.
I passed about 10 or 12 fish, I guess it was a fish market. Just south of where I am, I was just walking along the beach and there were 10 or 12 people with fish that had just come out of the ocean that morning. Wow. All along the sidewalk, you know, selling it to people on the street. So, wow, fantastic. I've heard of fresh fish, but look at there.
Can't get fresher. Can't get fresher than that. You've got an invitation here, James. You're welcome to visit Ponte Lima Insight and beware. You can check out anytime you like, but people seldom leave. I'm hearing that haunting in my mind again. Who doesn't like to feel comfortable first thing in the morning, later in the day, and all through the night? So true. And João de Norte, however, you're entirely correct. Settling in is really about the relationships that you build that make it home. And that's what develops or can develop, isn't it? Thereby making it in some ways a little bit tougher to move on in the way that you originally envisaged. This is great. Sarah, great to meet you and great to have this comment this morning. Portugal is a type A personality correction. I think that's pretty accurate.
Yes. You need to let go of a lot of those characteristics if you want to remain sane in Portugal. Yes.
Yep. It's been noticed that you're flexing the tats this morning. Go on, do show. Would you care to reveal a little bit more? Look at that sleeve, right?
That's my oldest son's work, by the way. He created it and applied it.
Yep. There you go.
If you ever want to see it, I'll show it to you up close and describe what's going on.
James has ink. What? Smash that like button. Look, they're talking about you. Yeah, on his right arm. I think he's one of those troublemakers now. Yeah, there you go. And I don't think he's a Morris dancer. The tattooed Morris dancers, they'd be quite.
And I don't do maypoles or any kind of poles for that matter.
Right. Now, this was a real shock to me, Antonio. I wasn't aware of this, but a rare event in Portugal yesterday, apparently. A man, 65 years of age, had another argument with some people that were waiting for the return of some pigeon racing from Spain. And that is quite the sport here in Portugal, I've discovered. And so he had an argument regarding his dogs and with some pigeon racers. He didn't like being called out for the noise and damage his dogs did. So he went for his hunting rifle, killed the three men he was arguing with, aged between 30 and 60, and killed himself upon police arrival. Now, you're absolutely right.
That was not a healthy human being there.
That is not. And that is indeed a rare event in Portugal.
Yes, incredibly rare.
Horrible, shocking, and not what we would expect to hear now.
That's the equivalent of a mass shooting in the United States. 3 men at one time in Portugal. That is a mass shooting.
Absolutely shocking, and I'm sure casting a huge shadow over May Day here in Portugal, because that is not how we roll. If I may use, sort of collective we there for us people here in Portugal. That is such a shocking situation there.
So sad.
Yeah, absolutely right. Whoa. What's this to Antonio F? A valuable lesson learned. Don't mess with the farmers. We have no gypsy visitors. I think that's a little bit, insensitive perhaps there, Peter. And yes, I think you're extending on my evil spirit conversation, but I'm not going to do any more of that until 10 this morning, talking more about evil spirits with Seth. Is still not taking appointments. Our residency permits expired last week. Fortunately, however, they updated our accounts to automatic renewal the day before they expired.
Wow.
Very good, huh?
So there's the other side of the driver's license experience. You didn't have to do anything and they just fixed it. Now you don't have to do anything.
Seth with the karmic balance there, perhaps.
There
Going back to Dougie, all motorcycles are dangerous. Yes, a good warning. I rode motorcycles for years, but gave them up quite a while ago. My reactions are slow and I'm easily distracted. Not worth the risk. It's official. Breakfast every morning on the patio. It's May. There's a marker for May when it's safe to breakfast on the patio. He's a Yorkshireman. He must be eating on his patio every day of the year, I would have thought there. Yes, it's the lifestyle in the Algarve, Thunderduck there. And Carl, your southern accent needs help. What is this? Ducator. Oh, Georgia. Okay. Decatur. You see, what threw me, Sarah, was I thought it was Georgia, as in Georgia in Europe, not Georgia in United States.
Near Russia.
Yeah, not that I would have in any way known how to pronounce that either. But Decatur, is that right? Or Decatur?
Well, if you're going to do it with a southern accent, you got to say Decatur. Decatur.
Oh, with
maybe Decatur, but the emphasis is on the K. Decatur.
And I've just cleaned out my ear with my key, and now I'm off to Decatur.
Yeah, I got to head up to Decatur tomorrow.
I could be getting myself in all sorts of trouble speaking like that and stereotyping in such a way. Cool tat, James, from Jess.
I think so.
Yeah, and I think you're referring to the shooting rather than tattooing there, Jess. Good to see you this morning, Jess. Yeah, and really, that's a horrible thing to have happened in Portugal. So sorry to hear that from you, Antonio F. Now, so let's return, shall we? This is something that's been entirely thought up here by James Holley. He, the Fraser of migration here in the Good Morning Portugal community, the banana slug, and you're entitled if ...
Yes, something along that line. And that's the key thing with mindfulness is be aware of your sense of it. Chances are we all have it. So it's not like you can't feel entitled. It's just be aware that it resides, and be aware of how you want to choose to express it or not under your circumstances. So that's the key thing. If you're new to Portugal, be mindful of your entitlement and see if you can keep it quiet. That's the general overarching. Then I say, hint, you might feel entitled if you assume they will speak English. That's one. Or you make no effort to at least try to speak a little Portuguese. There's a sense of entitlement. They should speak English. I speak English. English is the best language in the world. Why don't they speak English? Which goes to saying things like, well, back in, and I'll use reference to the United States since that's where I'm from. Back in the United States, we had it, or it was this way or that, so much better. Back in the United States, it was this way. Statements like,
Hold on, but at that point,
Yes.
we should add that insert country of origin. It's not necessarily back in the
Yes.
States.
Yeah, I try to point that out. I'm using it in the United States because that's mine, but you apply it to any country you're from.
Yes,
You
yes,
know, it's making a reference to back home, wherever that is. It makes, according to that, it makes no sense. That's another thing I'll say. It makes no sense.
It makes no sense.
That's an entitled statement.
Yes.
Or a suggestion, even if it's meant with the notion of being helpful. Wouldn't it be better to do it in a different way, behave differently, more like in my country or where I came from, right? Things like, if only they could fill in the blank. Pretty much if only is a clue. It's kind of like Brene Brown says, no empathic statement has ever started with at least. Like, no. So,
Yeah.
I was never treated like this in the US or in my country of origin again. I was never treated like this there. Well, you're not there. They're not Portuguese. You're in Portugal. These people are Portuguese. So they're going to behave differently and treat people differently than they do there. So get over it. You're not there. I might have should have saved this one for last, but I thought it was kind of funny when I thought of it. Why aren't they open? It's the middle of the day.
Yes.
Yeah, well, it's lunchtime, but they're a restaurant. You know, like
a phrase that comes to mind is making wrong. And you know, like Brene Brown thing you said, you know, there's so much in language, isn't there, that can make things wrong without actually explicitly saying this is wrong or I don't like it.
Yes,
just
and
a whole pile of inference or it's implication, probably implication, isn't it?
Well, and a certain frustration that it's not the way it's supposed to be.
Yeah.
Which is kind of what you're saying. And the last observation I came up with today is akin to that, which is you might be entitled if you think and or behave as if you know a better way.
Yes. Yeah.
Even if it's true, at least for you and what happens in your home country.
Yeah.
So ultimately, because I always like to state things in positive ways, or as opposed to what don't do this, is try doing this instead. My mindful suggestion is that you behave as if you're a guest in someone else's home. Mm-hmm. Let the host complain all they want, but just listen, do not join. Ultimately, be kind, be respectful, relax, and enjoy. That's what I had on that one.
Now, we like that a great deal. We like that. And is this a good time to ask questions, or have you?
Absolutely, yeah. That's all I had. So
right. Well, we this might even get typed out and blogged because it's really great and funny as well. Because I mean, these could even be acted out as brilliant little vignettes, couldn't they?
Yes.
We could have American Gumpers here acting out in the most stereotypical representations of fellow countrymen. Someone like Jess standing outside a closed shop in Portugal, asking this question of a passer.
It's only 11 p.m. Jeez, what's wrong with them?
We can have a lot of fun. We can have a lot of fun with this.
Now, well, I have noticed, speaking of mindfulness and self-awareness, and it became it popped up again for me on Saturday as I was taking the train up here. There was a group of 4 to 6 Americans who were seated just across the aisle from me. So I could hear everything they were saying, the conversations they were having, the observations they were making, and nothing was horrible, but I found myself just going, oh, I hate being around Americans. And I said, well, that's a rather extreme, reaction. And it's not true when I go to meetups, but just in this circumstance, I was reminded of, because they'd say things like, oh, isn't that cute? And, they're just talking about, a beautiful boat in the river or something. I was like, ooh, look at that. Just all the sort of tourist things that are just like, I wish I didn't understand what they were saying. Could you speak Portuguese, please? I wouldn't understand a word. So there, I've noticed in myself a certain lack of tolerance for especially the the new experience, American sort of. This wasn't even entitlement. They were just being them. So I'm being overly
That's a bit
critical.
harsh.
I'm aware of that, but I noticed there was a certain energy in me that kind of cringed a little bit, embraced a little bit.
That's the thing, though, for sure. It is. What is it? It's like the discomfort of seeing your fellow countrymen and women behaving in a way that you don't want to be associated with. And I'm sure there is a psychological term for that, and there's no doubt a Pfizer medication for it as well. But I that's definitely a thing, isn't it? Is seeing your fellow country people, like behaving in a way you think, oh, I've got to start speaking it in a language or walk away here because this is awkward. This is really uncomfortable. It's prickly.
Yeah, well, I have one example that I think will stick with me forever. It occurred in Ericeira. We were in the pasteleria that we go to pretty much every week. Familiar with the people behind the counters, have friendly back and forth. They know I'm learning Portuguese, and they've learned to accommodate me and listen patiently and correct me if I need it, or ask me to say it again, or for me to ask them to repeat it, but to say it more slowly. Yeah. There's that familiarity going on there. And this was during the high season last summer. And I think it's true of everybody, but we don't know because we only know our own native accent because that's what we grew up with. It's like, oh, yes. I recognize that's and for me, I can hear an American 3 blocks away, partly because they're overly loud. And the other part is the accent is so clearly not anything else. It's like, oh, yeah. I know the sound of this. So I noticed this young woman approach the counter, and something about how she appeared, how she was dressed, I don't know, something subtle I didn't really know. I said, I wonder if she's American. And the very next thing, I was like, absolutely clear. It was the epitome of being entitled and rude, because yes. she just stepped up to him and in English, without any effort, any understanding whatsoever that they might not understand her. She just said, yeah, I'd like, no, she didn't even say I'd like, can
I get
a coffee and one of those? And I just went, you don't represent me. Go away. I felt like I needed to step up and just go up and kind of push her away.
Like, get in between them as like, this is not how I would like to be represented.
Yes, and I realized I'm probably a very short-term tourist, there for 3 days in the high season. And I'm sure the people that work in Ericeira and other places to get large English-speaking tourists just figure, okay, this is what we get. We'll put up with it. I mean, nobody behind the counter even looked like they were bothered. But
quite. Well, that's an interesting thing, isn't it? I mean, what would you say as a psychotherapist about being bothered on someone else's behalf? Because that's what's happening here, isn't it? And I definitely can sympathize with what you're talking about. I'm hearing a "Hola, bon dia," from a British person down the road. I'm thinking, oh, here we go. And this is going to be awkward and difficult. And it might not be. It might be that my equivalent, Nelson at Cafe Palmera, isn't bothered in the way that I'm prickling quietly about, bristling. Actually, that's the best word, isn't it? I'm bristling away, thinking this person could really make a much better effort here. I'd even help them if they asked me. But I'm not liking how my country of origin or my kind of people, who are not actually, as it turns out, my kind of people, are representing me and themselves here. It might not be a problem for them. We're projecting, aren't we, in that instance?
Yeah, my experience so far of the Portuguese culture is they notice like everything. They don't miss anything. You have a very slight different pronunciation of a vowel sound. They hear it.
True. That's so true.
They hear it. They know what's going on, but there's something in the culture that says, in this circumstance, it's not my place to correct or to, whatever. Now, I think if someone was really rude or being threatening, they would, they'd stop that right now and say, you can't talk that way. Get out of my business. And, well, yeah, I'm not going to spend my money here. So please don't go away.
Yeah.
Vai dar banho o cão.
Yes, yes.
Go bathe the dog. Get out of here. Leave me.
What did he just say to me?
I'm memorizing that one, so I'm working on it because it just seems like so perfect.
Oh, we've got the name for it. Oikophobia.
Oikophobia. Okay. I don't know what that.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's a real thing or something that Andy made up, but I don't know what it is.
It seems like appropriate at 10 o'clock to throw open the phone lines for this specifically. And I'll pick it up and run with it. You may want to go and look at Espino, but I will take calls on this.
All I got to do is turn around.
True, but you want to get out and about. You want to get that cowboy hat on.
Yeah, I can see that beautiful ocean.
Yeah, but if you want to call in about this after 10 and how we can, and I think we need a part 2 of this because there are many more questions I want to ask you about this situation. And there was one thing I wanted to ask you specifically about, and thank you very much, My Dog Smells, who you can see is a supporter of the channel as well. Really appreciate that. I see you, My Dog Smells.
Go bathe it then.
Hola, bon dia, Carl and James. Love these Monday morning conversations with James. Thank you for saying so.
Thank you.
Now, if you are with people, and I find myself with Portuguese people on a Thursday evening, we're doing the Expats Portugal webinar at 7:30, and then we've got the Dream Team, where it's become more apparent that the likes of Gilda and Nuno are saying, but this is Portugal. And they're being slightly, let's say, to use your analogy, we're in their house with them. We're asking questions about how to get into their house or to enjoy life in their house. And they'll get to a point where they're a little bit embarrassed about how CEF are responding or how the bureaucracy is. And they'll say, well, this is Portugal. And you're suggesting that you don't necessarily agree with those self-criticisms or pile in at that point with your own. Is it a trick question sometimes, do you think, then, when a Portuguese person is slagging off Portugal, you don't step in at that point and join in with all your beefs?
Well, I had an experience years ago once of asking a woman when she was due. And I was a bank teller and she was a customer. And she looked at me and said, "I'm not pregnant."
Uh-oh.
And I said, "I'm never asking a woman that question again for as long as I live. I don't care if it looks like she's got 3 basketballs in her stomach. I'm not going to ask her when she's due, because there's a place where it can feel rude." And again, talking about triggers, I was on her. I just asked a question based on what I thought I had seen. Yeah. And when I look back at it, she was understandably not happy with the question. Yes. But the reason I bring it up is I have that same kind of caution now when I'm being mindful. It's like, what are my circumstances? What are my surroundings? Where am I? Oh, I'm in Portugal. Who are these people? Oh, these are a group of Portuguese people having a lively, enthusiastic, and occasionally heated conversation about how things suck in Portugal. Yes. I could easily jump in and go, "Oh yeah, and then this, and oh yeah, and then that," and they would all recognize it, but they would probably look at me and tell me to go bathe the dog.
Yeah, it's a bit like, you can't tell someone their child is ugly, but they can. They could say that if they want.
Yes, they can talk about their stuff all they want. So it's become a habit for me when I'm seeing this go on to just listen. And that's easier because I do a lot of listening anyway, because I can't join in verbally. So I try to just hear what I can hear. So mostly I'm listening anyway when there's a lot of Portuguese being spoken. Yeah. And the tendency is, if there's a group of 4, all 4 of them are talking at the same time. So it's almost impossible to hear.
And that's not a criticism.
No, it's just that would fall in the category of observation. I don't think there's anything wrong with it. It's just, I'm saying I struggle because I can't understand one person speaking to me, much less 4 people all speaking at the same time.
And I think we've all been in that scenario. Whiners will whine anywhere. That's deep thought of the day tomorrow, possibly there, Suze. Maybe T-Duck's writing that down now. Roger Scruton. I always want to say Roger Scrotum whenever I see Roger Scruton. And I'm sure he's fed up with that. Roger Scruton coined the term oikophobia, which is oikophobia is related to domatophobia, and ecophobia is an aversion to a home environment or an abnormal phobia of one's own home, and also a tendency to criticize or reject one's own culture in praise of others. I think we've got a new phobia here. I think it's slightly different, but I get your point, and thank you for that.
Phobia is a little strong. It's not like I'm going to lock myself in my house because I'm afraid of it. But yeah, I understand the sense of it, and I understand the joke. Yeah.
thoughts on the correlation between mindful and minding your business? We see this is where maybe we go next week. When is it okay, and how is it best to criticize or construct?
I can address that quite simply right now. If you don't
Go on.
know, keep your mouth shut.
Oh,
If you don't have a clear answer, just don't say anything. Like, why am I compelled to say anything at all? That's just ego needing to express some part of itself.
Oh,
This
my
is
goodness.
never necessary.
Oh, we got to have a part 2. I like that, but I think there's a part 2.
When in doubt, don't hit send.
Okay, very good. This is going to be a great conversation. So you're entitled when ... We've got the list. We'll publish it somewhere, and we'll pick it up again, because I have been saying recently, I'm not the Portuguese Pollyanna I used to be. There are things that could clearly be improved, but I don't mean that. I honestly don't mean that from an entitled point of view. I would like to respectfully put that forward for the greater good. Or am I finding a passive aggressive way of being critical by dressing it up in those lofty terms? We don't have to answer that right now, but I think we could pick it up next week, James. What do you reckon?
It's great with me. It's just a matter of either me taking a note or you taking a note. Because
we'll have forgotten by next week. Maybe
next week it's like, we were going to talk about something. What was it? I don't remember.
I don't know. Who cares? Two eyes, 2 ears, 1 mouth. Use in those proportions,
or less. Yeah.
Yes. Teach what we need to learn. Only kidding, Andrew. You can look, and here's Antonio defending the indefensible, not in a bad way. Jess, how about, where's the 24-hour Walmart? Bless him, Antonio F saying, well, you can get some 24-hour shops, mostly in highway gas stations. And really, there's no need to appease these people.
Well, he does point out very few.
Yes, yeah, okay. And small convenience stores in Lisbon and Porto. Other than that, only police stations, hospitals, and the on-duty pharmacy. Yes, that's true. For those of you who might say, where's the 24-hour Walmart? If you do feel that level of entitlement, what Antonio might be saying here is that you go into a police station and ask for anything you want any time of day, and they'll find it for you. Like hot dogs, maple syrup, anything like that.
Well, there's 2 parts of Jess's comment. One is the 24-hour thing. The other thing is the Walmart thing. And Walmart has, in American connotation, has this sort of reputation of being the least expensive, huge warehouse box store that people go to, and often it's associated with people of lesser economic means and potentially less education. So Walmart has a lot of connotations to it that go with the comment, where's a 24-hour Walmart, right?
Oh, I see.
So it's a double thing.
Well, a lot of judgment tied up in a little humorous aside. Humor's such a good way to deliver criticism, isn't it? Okay. Hi, James. You've had an invitation. We're going to say goodbye to you and have a lovely time in Espinho today, James. So good to talk to you this morning, as my dog Smell said. Love these conversations. You've been invited to Ponte Lima by John and Pam, and you've also got a lunch here. Hi, James. I owe you a lunch. I ordered so much last time in Ericeira. I had not intended you to pay. Lunch in Ponte Lima in the
Sue, you owe me nothing. The pleasure was mine, truly. I don't offer to pay if I don't mean it, and I never expect to be paid back. So,
all right. Well, let's see what Sue has to say about that. She might have to tie you down and force feed you lunch and then pay for it. All right, James. Fabulous to talk to you. I'm going to take to heart what you said about evil spirits and your psychotherapeutic angle, and we'll throw open the phones for a bit of Iberian FM phone-in along these lines. If anyone wants to talk about it some more, this sense of entitlement, and also, are evil spirits still relevant, or what are they in 2023? I think we've got a visual dad joke before you go, and the remains of the other dad jokes as well, I think. We did this one, didn't we? I just opened a flower shop. Business is blue. If April showers bring Mayflowers, what do Mayflowers bring?
Pilgrims.
Well said, sir. Very good.
I've known that one since grade school.
Man, I'm not going.
I thought I was so sharp.
I'm not going anywhere. I'm not going to the May Day parade today. My friend says it's perfectly safe, but I see a lot of red flags. Just in case you weren't here earlier, that is for you on this very special May Day. And then finally, what's this, James? And I can reveal as you speak it.
Someone ripped the 5th month of my new calendar. Ripped the 5th month out of my new calendar.
All right, let's have a look.
I'm dismayed.
Oh, yikes. It's the groaner we need.
And I love the part of what makes these funny to me is just the visual. It's always the same 4 pictures, but he's just going,
Oh, yeah. All right.
again.
What are you up to today then? Are you going to go and put your shirt on a bet in the casino next door?
No, I've got about 5 hours before my train back to Lisboa.
Okay.
So I will, and I check out of here in an hour. So I'll be straightening up.
Straightening up and training, maybe running along the beach, squirting slug juice everywhere in anticipation of rescuing more swooning maidens on escalators.
Perhaps, yeah. Well, it's a good thing I do my burpees every morning, which includes push-ups. So that strength was in my arms more than a potato sack.
You never know what's going to happen though. That training is really important because the life of a slug-based superhero, you never know what's going to happen. Have a great day, my friend.
Thank you so much.
Here in FM. Here's a nice big round of applause for you. Go well, travel well back to Ericeira. Lovely to talk to you this morning.
Ciao, ciao.
Yeah. All right, mate. Bye for now. Oh my goodness, the talk of maypoles and that music. Oh, and it being what if you're a Beltane celebrating pagan, summer's here. We're well and truly into spring, aren't we? The sap is rising. Whew, blimey. I've got lead in my pencil and wind in my sails this morning and taking your calls on 913-590-303 if you want to talk about that oikophobia thing. Yes, Pete, no problem. And let me just say that Pete, yes, has fantastically. Pete and Diane, thankfully, have come to our aid with the suggestion of tonight's booze, which is the Moscatel, the Stubal there. Let me just take that comment off the screen. Yeah, I haven't even set it up yet, Pete. We're a little bit laid back this morning, but as you can see there, you can get it at Lidl's. It is the Passo do Bispo, and it is a Moscatel that we'll be trying tonight. I think if we have a nice hot day, that'll be on ice, won't it? Or be chilled? Is that how you drink a Moscatel? We'll find out. So definitely looking forward to that tonight. A little bit different, not a red nor a white, but an orangey Moscatel from Stubal tonight. Join us at, let's go for 8 o'clock, shall we? With that, Pete, this evening. And we'll enjoy that. If you can't find that today, at the 24-hour Walmart, then bring whatever you can. Get as close as possible, and then we might be drinking the same thing, the Moscatel, for example. But if not, don't worry. You're very welcome to come, even if you don't have the exact same bottle in front of you to share and to talk about on the screen. That often happens with the wine club. It's just a great opportunity to hang out, talk about Portuguese booze, have a bit of a fun, and learn a little bit about whichever speaker has chosen to present something. And in this case, Pete and Diane, and I'm sure they'll be talking a little bit about the backstory of this wine tonight. I will all share with you some more forthcoming attractions as well, but that's tonight. Passo do Bispo on the Good Morning Portugal Wine Club from 8 this evening. Before that, a Share and Care Death Cafe will be getting together, not online, but just chatting behind the scenes and opening up about life, death, and anything in between, as we used to do with Jacqueline, everybody. Remember Donna Jacqueline? So life, death, and everything in between. Death Cafe from 7. Just get in touch with me, 913-590. The very same number for calling into the Iberian FM phone-in. Forthcoming attractions then later on this week on Wednesday, self-leadership, sovereignty, and dealing with disagreement. That's Andrew Bryant, who lives in Portugal and is a speaker, trainer, mentor in the world of personal development for at least a couple of decades. He'll be with us and talking about those themes. Isn't that interesting in the run-up to the coronation? Self-leadership, sovereignty and dealing with disagreement. So maybe disagreeing with monarchists or Republicans in this instance. Is that someone sending me a message who may want to talk about oikophobia or not? What's that coming through? You're hearing that, I think, aren't you, through the Bluetooth there? Thank you very much for all the pictures. I hope we got to... No, we didn't. Here is Paul's breakfast that he was talking about. Boiled eggs. Where's the toast? Where are the soldiers to dip into those? And is that like, it looks like a German pint of lager there, or even something bigger than a pint there? Do you have boiled eggs and German lager for breakfast there in the Algarve? But that's officially, look at the color of that sky, everybody. And look at that beautiful garden. That is the Algarve, living the dream there. That's Paul Richards. And he'll be here on Thursday evening on the internet, taking Jerry Lawler on head-to-head in the next round of the best place to live in Portugal. It's the Algarve versus Central Portugal, folks, on Thursday. So tune in for that and the Dream Team thereafter at 9. Here on the Good Morning Portugal show, upcoming tomorrow evening at... I think I'm hoping 9 is going to be fine for Raquel. Raquel has got a beautiful farm for sale in Portugal, which we may talk about briefly tomorrow night, but I think we should have a special about that. She's got a beautiful property for sale. We'll talk to her about that. She is an expert in helping people start businesses in Portugal. And Stephen has a few ideas when it comes to what business you might start and investment opportunities. We'll talk to him at 9 o'clock tomorrow on our Hello America, This is Portugal program. Tomorrow evening. Later this week, then, Spain Revealed. We're talking to James Blick of Spain Revealed. Spain Revealed to Portugal on this occasion. And I will try not to mention the white asparagus when we talk to James Blick on Friday of this week. So lots to come. This as well on the 15th of May, this begins. 15th to 19th. 5 days of speakers, 45 of them. Get your free ticket. You'll see a few familiar faces there. Ali of Snapshot, who's a resident co-host here on the Good Morning Portugal, Ali Sheldrake, of course. And Snapshot has just been published today, the 1st of May edition. We've got a lovely spread in there. Careful where you put that staple, Ali. So, yeah, I'm talking at this. Ali is as well. I think Raquel's on this too. Portugal Plan, the virtual summit between the 15th and 19th. And I forgot to mention earlier on, I'll be doing my where's the best place for you to live in Portugal, where I'm not going to give you a specific location, but I'm going to be talking to you about some of the decision-making processes that might be helpful in my slot on this illustrious gathering between the 15th and 19th of May. So yes, we're into May, everybody, talking about evil spirits or oikophobia. And I'm going to give you my take on this evil spirit thing after we've had a look at a few of the comments that have come in. Just remember, says Antonio F., Moscatel wine is not a table wine. Don't be glugging that bad boy. Pete says it's an under-the-table one. So there you go. And much less chemically than martini. What's this? I've missed a bit here, haven't I? So Suze just wants to get an excuse to get the slug up to Ponte Lima. I do understand, having been there this weekend, Suze, why you loved Ponte Lima so much and why you're headed back there. Have I got some more pictures? I do. I have a picture of the Letreria Brewery there. That was fantastic. And a lovely pint of IPA there. And at the Women's Prison Cafe at Casa de Terra, we had this one as well. Two different, tried at least two different. It sounds like it was a really boozy. It wasn't that boozy a weekend, but it was really great. And this at the Casa de Terra, the artisanal brew that we had there, Antonio F. might have something to say on this as well. That's the front of the label. And as you spin it round, you see this lady on the label as well. And we were trying to figure out, do you know why? I mean, I think there's a reference to the women's prison, of course, and that's why she has a manacle on her. Is that what it's called? Isn't it funny that a chain on a woman is called a manacle? She's done up for the evening, it would look like. Or is that what women prisoners used to wear in Ponte Lima? I don't know. And she's wagging her finger. She is a comadre. Now, we thought that was something like a, what's the word, where you're escorted by an older lady. Can't remember that. And I can never remember this word. When you're taken out on a date, but you've got an escort with you to make sure there's no funny business. Is that a comadre? It's on the tip of my tongue, that word. I'm sure it is yours as well. Do let me know in the chat what that word is when you're being accompanied by another woman or an older woman when you're out on a date. It's quite an old-fashioned concept. But why is that woman wagging her finger? Is she one of those, whatever the word is that I can't think of right now, an escort of that kind? Or why is that woman manacled and waving her finger in the former women's prison of Ponte Lima? These are the Centurions. There'll be more about this. We've got 3 videos that we're going to pop up and a podcast addressing this thing about, is the cold north or not? I had a great chat with John down a country lane yesterday about that. But those are the Centurions, and John tells us that story on the podcast as well. Absolutely fantastic. And there's this character again, the Bon Camino greeting on the bridge there at Ponte Lima. Superb, excellent stuff. Yeah, and don't forget 3rd of June, the Merry Men will be gathering, the Gumpers and women, if they're into the idea of a local derby, FA Cup final, Man City, Man United. There's going to be a gathering somewhere for that. We haven't decided the location yet, but we think it's a great idea to do so. Back to your comments then, before we talk about evil spirits. It's a chaperone. Of course, it's a chaperone. I was going to call it a chauvinist, but that's the other person there, isn't it? There might be a chauvinist there, and that's why there needs to be a chaperone as well. A comadre is a cama or a bedpan. What is a cama? For goodness sake, Antonio F. What is her significance then in society? This woman who's had this beer named after her as the comadre. What's that about? What's going on here? Why is this beer called a comadre? And what is a cama, for goodness sakes? Okay, evil spirits then. I don't know if anyone's going to call in this morning, and it might be a little bit abstract, the idea I have for you this morning. But given that it is the 1st of May, and yellow broom flowers are, or homes and cars maybe, or properties may be adorned with the yellow broom flowers to ward away evil spirits. I was thinking, it does seem rather quaint, doesn't it, that our ancestors, look at them putting flowers outside their house so the evil spirits don't come in. I don't mean in any way to be condescending or patronizing about that. I think we've got our hands full. It's like the evil spirits have changed. Pete, you had a comment, didn't you, about Donald Trump earlier on, and you were getting quite personal there, as you sometimes do, it has to be said, about oh yeah, here you go. Here was your earlier comment when we were talking about first mentioning the idea of evil spirits. What is the significance of an evil spirit in 2023? If you mean Donald Trump, which I don't, evil spirits are definitely still around, but yet to see the US governed from a prison cell. Now, this is a really good example, Pete. Thank you for this. And we may talk about it more, of course, tonight whilst we're drinking Muscatel. The evil spirit, I would say, is, how do I put this? Is in us. See, the interesting thing for me, in the olden days, and with this idea of broom adorning homes to keep evil spirits out, might it be, and it was very interesting what James said, I think, about evil spirits, or as a metaphor anyway, for the things that may lurk within the minds of people, the spot within the heavenly realm of being, there becomes an aberration that we are then, that gets our attention. That makes a lot of sense. And is it possible now, and you may want to call in on 913-590-303 about this, that the evil spirits are more a thing to be considered within a person these days rather than externally? We can personify, as Pete is doing now. We can get a sense of Pete's feelings and opinions and judgments about Donald Trump. But perhaps in our time, when we think we're so advanced and better, possibly, than our ancestors who used to put flowers outside their houses to keep evil spirits away, are we not living in a time where evil spirits are more of an internal challenge? Let me put it like that. Clearly, you could say that the man who shot 3 men and then killed himself in Stabal, and I don't mean to hijack that for, in any trite or way that undermines the seriousness of that event. But as James said, that clearly a very mentally unhealthy person who would think to do something like that. And in that moment, definitely possessed by what you might call an evil spirit. And I know this is triggering sort of language because it might put people in their feelings about religion and sin and these sorts of things. But bring it on, 913-590-303 if you want to talk about that. But I would say, using this as an example, because you put it forward, Pete, that there's something, and this connects, doesn't it? I think to what we'll be talking about on Wednesday, and what I attempted to talk about before I had the power cut last week. That what is it that is inside Pete here, for example? And I'm not talking about you, Pete. I mean, I'm talking with you as well. What is it that do you think is inside your mental landscape that the mere mention of me saying what is an evil spirit, what happens that you just suddenly think of Donald Trump? Or what happens to you and many other people? Other trigger names are available. Tucker Carlson might be another one on the list I gave last week, Margaret Thatcher, etc., etc. And let's extend that to all of us because we've all got them. If a mere set of letters on a screen like that, a D, an O, an N, an AL, and an L, and a D, and a T, and an R, and a U, and an M, and a P, which suddenly sounds like a Sesame Street song, can cause you to change how you feel, is that not the evil spirit? So it's not the person you're projecting the idea of an evil spirit onto. The evil spirit is the thing that lives inside us, that when somebody's name is mentioned, it changes our mood completely. And you might say that the mood itself is the evil spirit. Now, in a time when we're supposed, furthermore, let me put this to you. In a time when we're supposed to be more intelligent than our ancestors who put flowers outside their houses, and the tradition still continues to ward away evil spirits, can we genuinely call ourselves more intelligent and look patronizingly or condescendingly upon the use of flowers to ward away evil spirits, when the mere mention of a name can have us lose our minds? Is that the behavior of an intelligent person? I would say not. But anyway, that notwithstanding, a comadre means a bedpan. So why is that woman? Why would you call a beer a bedpan? And why is that woman? Why is there a woman chained up wagging her fingers? Maybe she needs a bedpan. I don't know. The evil spirits are the mass media who have brainwashed so many souls. But again, I would put to you, T-Duck, they can't. Their methods are useless unless there is the other side of the Velcro within us. Okay, how is it that there must be that if there's a mechanism by which we can be triggered by the mass media, by the mention of a certain name or certain types of people, isn't the evil spirit within us that bit of the Velcro? So as soon as the mass media leans towards you, well, with like, we know what's going to wind everybody up today. We'll talk about this group of people or that group of people, and we'll talk about the other people who are not like those people and their reaction to those people, and we'll get stirred up. The stirring up, the mechanism of the stirring up, and then the stirring up itself, the bad mood, the anger, isn't that the evil spirit? And any of us who can't see that happening, you might say, is prone or prey to the mass media and anyone who wants to stir that up within you. And it comes back to us, doesn't it, to do what James talks about, which is the notice, choose, and act. It's like, oh, whoa, somebody just said Donald Trump, and all of these reactions occurred within me. I was having a lovely day, and somebody said a name, and it upset me so much. I now am having less than on par relationships with myself and other people. That's weird, isn't it? That's strange. We are perhaps less intelligent than if that's possible and doable to you, me, and anyone else. Are we perhaps less intelligent than those we might think of as paganistic or primitive in some way? I suppose, says Pete, that there are so many parallels with my dad's teenage years in the 1930s. Trump and a fella from Austria both attempted coups and were virtually unpunished. And we faced the same economic depression as we did in the 1930s. So, okay, I get it then, Pete. Your projection onto Trump of your bad feelings is based in what you think he might do, and the resonances with a time in history that is obviously a highly emotional and difficult phenomenon for your family, and that's why that would occur. That's why that phenomenon would occur and be present in you. And in a way, is it not interesting? Well, I find it interesting that in a way he has triumphed already. If you are, and I don't know this for sure, but if you are triggered by Donald Trump and feelings of hatred are generated in you by the mere mention of the name, is that not, has he not succeeded in his and the agendas of other people of what you might see as a similar ilk? Let us see who that is calling in. I think we may have a Lord Gilchrist on the phone responding to this. And I'm not going to put you on the screen because you appear to be naked, Andrew. So let's just have your voice coming through for the time being. Did you not mean to do a video call? Hola, bom dia.
Don't put me on screen, please.
I can see why not. We'll have that as a little secret between you and me.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Go ahead. Oh, I'll tell you what. I'm making an adjustment here.
I'm not naked. I'm just scantily dressed.
That's what they all say.
Temperature.
That's what they all say, mate. Anyway, let me see if this connection's any better. We'll do it through mobile hotspot instead of Wi-Fi, strangely enough, and see if we can hear you better. Can you hear us?
Yeah, I can hear you good.
That's better. Okay, so go ahead. What do you want to say?
Right. Well, firstly, this oikophobia. I mean, it's not a bad kind of description. You could use it to maybe modify it for people that irk you, and call it an irkophobia.
Irkophobia, brilliant.
People that you get irked by.
Yes.
But oikophobia, I mean, I guess it was something I've just found while perusing the internet. And I was like, actually, I quite like that. There's one who rejects one's own culture. But I mean, power and money tend to corrupt. Where you have corruption, you tend to have ill deeds, or you could even say evil deeds. We just have to look at what's happening in the east end of Europe and Russia to see the deeds that are happening there. I mean, again, I suspect that's all political power play. And unfortunately, if you've got absolute power, you've got absolute corruption.
Right. So are you saying that's the modern evil spirit of 2023, the people who behave in that way?
Oh, there's kind of a correlation between, big corp, big government, and a lot of things can be lobbied and bought around. You can sort of sidestep laws and lobby governments to get your own way. But that surely again is just corruption.
Mm-hmm.
But it's that power. I still think that there needs to be some sort of backstop where no matter how much money or power you appear to have, that there'll be sort of some kind of institutional filter that goes, I don't care who you are or how much money you have.
Yes.
The law is the law. But unfortunately, that seems to be lacking in any sort of mechanism.
Right. Okay. And I'm struggling to see the connection with evil spirits here, but that's, I mean, you're making a more general point.
What do they call the root of all evil? It's money, isn't it? But money, power kind of go hand in hand.
Oh, I see. Okay, and these might be the evil spirits of our age. Is that
right, exactly.
deadly duo of money and power?
Because money corrupts. Absolute power is absolute corruption. But do you think any good comes from people with huge amounts of power individually? It's unlikely. I mean, you can think Bill Gates is a wonderful philanthropist.
Not that I do.
But, there's probably two sides to that story. I guarantee you that.
Yes. Okay. All right. Stay where you are, Andrew, because we've got a few comments coming through. And yes, thank you for your backstory there, Pete. That really helps, Pete. There helps me. Perhaps the evil spirit is best personified by those who let ideology govern their automatic judgments of another's morality. Excellent point. Behind every evil spirit is a point of view. Well said, Sarah Taylor. Thank you for that. The evil are vile, the evil live. Yes, nice word plays there and anagrams. Just goofing around with those 4 letters at 2:23 a.m. Sometimes you can get the most amazing insights with sleep deprivation, Suze, as you and I both know. Aren't those triggering events based on past experiences? Yes, they are. That is my theory anyway, or one that I would subscribe to. Thank you, My Dog Smells. And you are always full of such wonderful Portuguese vocabulary. Bem-haja, that's from Pete to Antonio. Perhaps hyper-ideological judgments and statements are motivated by a bit of unkindness. Well, this is interesting where you're taking the conversation with that, I would say, João de Nort. And I think I need your help here, Andrew, in just a moment with that. It's not hatred, says Pete. It is just that we have so much better information and access to it. Yet the electorate appear just as naive as they were when propaganda was less disprovable. That's another thing I have a bit of a struggle with, is like protection of the others, which is based on a judgment about the others, and the naivety of other people, as if we don't struggle from that ourselves, possibly. All information derives from one bias or another. Being aware of that bias is the necessary skill to develop. And call me an optimistic cynic, or perhaps a cynical optimist, says João de Nort, which I think is quite a good orientation in the times we're living through. Popularity shouldn't affect justice, but obviously to everyone it does. The fact that people are giving money to someone with a private jet, to them it shall be given. I guess you could say, if you wanted to use a Bible line there. Why does that happen, Andrew? Why do people give their money? You know, Trump's, for example, just using him as an example, you know, there's action figures. People were buying them. Were they NFTs? He created his own NFTs, and people were buying them.
Is that his own kind of portraiture or something, wasn't it? For his NFT.
Like a WWF figure, yes, yeah.
The thing I really love about Trump, which is not much at all, well, hardly nothing, is the fact that, I'm going to use a slight bad word, he's full of doo-doo, but, you know, he exudes so much confidence.
Right.
And I think people believe that absolute unwavering confidence is like, oh, he must be right. And it's like the whole crypto thing with Sam Bankman-Fried. Like, the guy was, you know, mooted by all and sundry. It's like, oh, he's the next, you know, I forget his name. One of the big sort of banking greats from history.
Yeah.
But, you know, it turns out that confidence was built upon nothing. When it all starts to go shaky.
And let's face it, the banking greats from history, and that was a Freudian slip, the banking gates, but the banking greats from history aren't exactly necessarily the nicest people we've ever known on this planet, are we? Talking of evil spirits.
Again, right.
Yeah.
Go back to my comments about money and power. So,
yeah.
But yeah, his kind of fortune, or his foretelling, has turned out to be more like one of Freddie Laker than you know, I don't know.
Freddie Laker, you might have to explain who that is, but I get the gist. I get the gist. You know, why do you think, though, that even though it would appear Donald Trump is wealthy, people poorer than him give him money? I think that's the point Pete is making here. But why shouldn't they? Why can't they do what they want with their own money? And if it makes them happy, why can't they do it? What's the big deal?
Well, they can, but there's that saying, you know, the old expression, "The fool and his money is soon parted."
Yeah.
But like anything, it's a confidence trick, you know, and that's why you have con men all around the world, because it's that whole mask of confidence. It's like, this guy knows what he's doing, or, you know, this guy.
We don't know that that's everybody's reason for doing it, do we? I mean, one wholesome way you might look at this is people give money to things they like, and if they like him, of course they give their money to him.
Yeah, and like in a free world, you should be able to do as you choose. If you want to give your wealth to a donkey sanctuary, then so be it. You know,
for example, yes,
just random example. But if you want to give it to some politician, then yeah, okay, fair enough, your choice.
Absolutely.
But, I mean,
what do you make of this though? And sorry, go on, carry on.
I can't help think there's a slight elemental media brainwashing that's gone on. And people have been sold this, you know.
But who are these people? This fascinates me, and I made reference to it just now. But this protection of the others, the other people, what is this? What is this thing where other people have been brainwashed? And have you got examples?
No, I'm just saying it's a possibility with every con trick. You know, there's going to be like a pitch or a line or something, but. You know, Donald Trump has had the advantage of global media shining the lights of the cameras on him.
Yeah.
And then he stood up there, bold as brass, and pronounced what he's pronounced. Like, nobody knows more about this than me. I'm the world's expert at this. And he said that about every subject I can remember. And if
but
you
you
say
like
the same thing often,
okay. So
maybe people believe.
let me decode this then. You like confidence in a man, but not when he's saying things you don't like.
Well, no, it's confidence is one thing.
Yeah.
It's a very human appealing, trait.
Yes.
But you've got to have it kind of like tempered with integrity. Otherwise, there's just nothing more apart from more than a big winning sales smile.
Yeah.
But I think you have to balance these kind of traits of human behavior with others, right? I think again, it's like you can't have good without evil, and vice versa. You can't have evil without good because you've got no yardstick.
Okay, well,
measure it from.
Here's the thing then. If that's true, which roughly speaking, I agree with you. It is that it is. There are some qualities that are nobler and more enriching and edifying for humans than there are others. So we can safely assume, mightn't we, that we might aspire towards those more ennobling and enriching ones, and get them in a better balance, and do what we can to stop this tendency, perhaps, or alter the aggrandizement of money and power for its own sake, and the effect that has. But how do you can only do that for yourself, can't you? You can't do that. You can't, what I'm hearing is that you want to stop other people doing it, but that's quite a long arc, isn't it? And clearly throughout history, quite a difficult thing to do, to stand in the way of madness, empowered by money and political power. So ultimately, it would seem the only place we could really do it is ourselves, isn't it? And I think that's what Sarah might be getting at here. The people that many deem evil, do those people believe they themselves are evil or not? Perhaps think not. But the point I was making this morning, and what I was interested in with this idea of evil spirits, given that it is May the 1st, is what really is the evil spirit. And if you can make yourself unhappy thinking about these things, is that not the evil spirit? So many of these things that I've heard you speak about are like, we're worried about what the effect somebody like Donald Trump might have on other people. But I'm interested in, does he make you unhappy when you think about him?
No, in fact, I tell you what, there was something I realized, a moment of clarity. Yeah. I was watching Full Metal Jacket this week, which is a great Stanley Kubrick, I believe, movie shot in the old Docklands of London, about the Marines going to Vietnam. I think it is, isn't it? Anyway, and they were marching along near the end, going MICKEY MOUSE, Mickey Mouse. Anyway, that you could replace that with Donald Trump. DONALD TRUMP. I can't even say.
Yes, yeah.
You know what I mean. Okay, you have to forgive me. I'm still a little bit.
Yes,
you're man down with.
You still got COVID and you're naked from the waist up. Look, you're in a vulnerable position. But what I'm really interested in talking about. Let me make it plainer then. Being unhappy is unintelligent. Shall I put it like that? Sorry, say again.
Personally, I don't pay it too much headspace. Right. Like if I've made my own opinion,
yes,
which of course everyone's allowed to form. If I've made my opinion and I think I don't want anyone like this to occupy my headspace, then I don't.
Quite.
That makes me happier. So I think there's lots that I don't allow to interrupt my headspace. Things like Tucker Carlson, don't care, or other people who have recently been shed from those agencies, still not interested. The interest I have in US politics is
entertainment, I suspect.
Partially, but it's one of let's not forget, America has their hands on the world's biggest arsenal of weaponry and machines. I'd like to know the person who's commander in chief, right, isn't an unhinged lunatic, some swivel-eyed monster
that.
that's going to unleash Armageddon. that's my interest. That's the thing I'm really interested in.
Oh, I see. Yeah.
And
In a sort of primal gesture of male observation of the perimeter,
like
making yourself safe.
I'd like Americans to use a bit more candor when they pick the head guy, right? Because I don't think Trump. Maybe he had some good notions. Maybe he had some good ideas.
Yeah.
From my own impressions,
right.
I'm a bit meh about it.
I get that.
But
okay.
But then was Obama much better, or Bush before him?
Nah.
I mean, like I said, I think.
But let's not get started on. That's too much of a distraction, Andrew. If you don't mind me saying.
Right, but the headspace that I allow it to occupy is.
Yes.
Let's hope when the next year comes around, they don't put a swivel-eyed lunatic in the White House, basically.
Okay. Well, good luck with that. And what I'm more interested in is whether the evil spirit of the modern time is unhappiness and how we can undermine our joy. I think we've found, in the way that our ancestors thought the evil spirits were marching up and down the streets and putting broom outside your door might have been useful to ward them away. What is the modern equivalent? And I think it is these bogeymen that, as T-Duck has said, are being used by the mass media to destabilize and undermine people's health and well-being. And I'm putting it to you this morning that being unhappy is not an intelligent choice. Okay, now that could be quite triggering in itself. Let's see what other people have to say. Antonio F. Portugal was filled with propaganda during the dictatorship, as censorship only allowed for the official messages and favorable news. But even then, plenty of people were aware of the reality. And we spoke to somebody the other evening who actually thought it was better. He didn't actually say this, but he said, he was before the revolution, there was a sense of family. He worked as a mechanic in Coimbra. Before the revolution, there was a sense of family. After it, people started arguing about politics. It's a very interesting point of view, that. There are, says Pete, many examples. The wall that Trump didn't build, Brexit, do you need more? I don't know if we're still understanding each other here, Pete, because I'm not asking for examples of why you think Trump is bad or where politicians have let people down. There are loads of those. How about more spent on fraudulent claims during COVID than the UK defence budget, and yet no arrests, whilst a granny who misses her TV licence payment is jail? Yes, of course. Matt Hancock should be in jail for all his fraudulent claims. And I'll say that publicly, rather than the granny who didn't pay her TV licence. Sue says some evil people killers once caught say they know they should be locked up, or they know they will continue to kill, but seldom do they say why. That's chilling. Comedians, after a successful gig, say I killed it. Yeah. 1 in 3 women's criminal records in the UK are for not paying a TV license. My goodness, that's a dictatorship, isn't it, of a kind? And I'd like to see someone in the White House who doesn't start wars and support violence. Yeah. There's only been one occupant in the last century who met that standard. Interesting. So once they put the broom outside the door, it abated the fear. It was about fear management, wasn't it? A bit like turning your TV off, perhaps. Andrew, anything in that's stoked your interest or inspired you on this matter?
Yeah, I mean, that's absolutely atypical of the UK, isn't it?
What?
1 in 3 or females' criminal records are for non-payment of TV licenses.
Yeah.
Unbelievable, isn't it? Why? I don't see how it's applicable, because who's ever signed a contract with the BBC?
Okay.
Did you sign a contract ever? I never did. So why would I, if I choose not to use their services, why would I have to have a license regardless?
Yes.
So I never signed a contract with them, and I never would. And I would encourage anyone to have a long, hard consider of that fact. Did you actually sign up for the BBC? Did you put pen to paper and go, I want this, sign, and make a payment? Because just because it's some legal thing, if you use live services or live terrestrial transmissions, you must have this license. But I mean, if you want to start peeling a can of worms open, look at the shocking, frivolous use of BBC money that they do for things like, for first-class air travel hotels that they then don't use because they've changed their plans.
Well, have we just
There's
seen there?
shocking waste of
Have we seen there a really interesting illustration of what I'm trying to talk about? So Pete, for example, and as an example, mentions TV licenses. You've got a beef about TV licenses, and so the spirit, your spirits, your internal, let's use the spirits and sort of states of mind interchangeably here. And it's interesting that Tom should say Shirley. And on this occasion, I'm going to allow you to call me Shirley. All the evil spirits are internal. Emphasis on the word spirits. That is such a good point, Tom. You've been a little bit triggered there by the sound of it, Andrew, because you hear an injustice. And
well, it is an injustice. I mean,
no, I agree. I'm not saying it's not. I'm not
saying
saying it's not an injustice. I'm looking at the mechanism that occurred there. You were not aware of TV licenses this morning until Pete mentioned it. Pete mentioned
the criminality of people versus non-payment.
Correct.
I mean, I don't see why non-payment should become a criminal matter.
Me neither. But the interesting thing is,
it's not what they call it. What's the other thing for criminal? It's like social matter, isn't it? Or
civil.
Thank you, civic matter.
Yeah.
And why isn't it a civic matter? It's only about some money.
Quite.
I find that disgusting. I really do. And if you think the UK is a free democracy, really think again, people, that it's not what they label and sell and project onto the world.
Yes.
If you really peel the lid off the UK, it's a big mess of problems.
Yeah, and I get that. I'm just fascinated how Pete was able to elicit disgust in you with the mention of a concept, and we're not even in the UK or anything like this. This is what I'm talking about. This is the dynamic I'm talking about, which I think is the modern evil spirits, if you like, is that all of these energies are at play, aren't they? You know, an example can be given. Somebody will pick up on a word, and I see it's happening in the chat now. You know, there'll be a mention of somebody, there'll be a mention of somebody else, and that triggers one person who then gets triggered back by another person. And that is exactly what I'm talking about. These, I think, are the evil spirits of our time, which, you know, we would see as somewhat quaint if we look at them historically, but because we haven't got our own presence of mind in our own time, we're not seeing how we're being manipulated necessarily, and how our state and mood can be changed entirely just by concepts and words.
Yeah, I know. It's a sad state of affairs, really. I think the thing that would trigger me on that is the injustice, right? For sure, I think it would anyone.
I think injustice it's a bit like spiders and snakes, isn't it? Injustice for human beings, especially if you've got some skin in the game from your childhood in some way, is a triggering matter. And what I think is fascinating about that is whether or not you can see that going on as a dynamic, which is was my talking point this morning. I don't want to shut you down or shut you up, Andrew. Let me give you a last word, and we'll go to a few of the comments in the chat as well.
Okay, have a great May Day Monday, everyone. The sun is shining in the capital.
Yeah.
I'm going to try and ingest more vitamin C and take some vitamin D.
Yes.
And some exercise. And please, everyone, if you want to ward off evil spirits, give me a surefire remedy to shake this cold/man flu.
I see what you did there.
Any session will be tried and gladly experimented with.
You should have
apart from any sort of
you should have had your booster.
Listen.
No, I'm joking. I'm joking. Don't. No, no, I didn't mean. Sorry, go on.
No, listen. It's got now to do with now, as Gary would say.
Right.
What booster?
Exactly. All right. Fair enough. Cheers, Andrew. If you can help him with his snotgate.
Any remedies? Any kind of like freeze a spoon and then stick it on your tongue. Anything weird and random, I'll try. I'm gladly. This is day 8 now.
Exactly.
I'm bored.
We hear your
call.
We hear your call there. Thank you very much. Thanks everybody.
That would be much love to all. That would be my greatest.
Cheers, mate. Well,
prayer on today.
Have a good day. Keep out of the evil spirits that may catch hold of you, physical, mental, or whatever they be. All right.
Till tonight, some imbibement of more evil spirit. Of
Maybe
course,
see you at the wine club tonight. Yeah, okay, mate.
Muscatel.
Drop a muscatel. See you tonight for that. Cheers, mate. Bye for now.
Cool.
See ya. Bye.
Bye.
It is the civil, and put a shirt on. It is civil until the fine is not paid, at which point it becomes criminal. It is the poor who get convicted of crimes, whilst the wealthy, like Trump, can get away with it. Broom for everyone. Yes. What? Or your equivalent. That'll do it. Yes. Whatever. That will be my final word here. Is whatever it is that stirs the evil spirits within you. And I liked the cut of your jib, Tom West, this morning. It is an internal matter as far as I'm concerned. And wherever you can see yourself, wherever the evil spirits are coming in, and I saw it in myself yesterday and last evening, do a bit of that James Holley stuff. Notice, choose, and act, rather than perhaps being on it too much, as it were, and attached to those evil spirits, because they will take you to horrible places. Bailed out by their parents, and then the state like Sunak. I think Pete will be back at 8 with gladly drinking some Muscatel after the direction of today's conversation, perhaps. We'll continue. Don't worry. If there are things you didn't understand with each other, or there were misunderstandings, we will come back again and we'll try again with these. So I think a lot of these are points of order and little technicalities about what is being discussed, which I know is very difficult to do in a little chat box. Autonomous and unaccountable bureaucracies are what worries me. Yeah, me too. Most presidents become filthy rich while in office. I thought that was the whole point of, the richest person wins the American election, don't they? Isn't that an actual demonstrable principle? Only one president lost more than $1 billion while in office. Here to them that have it shall be given. No, I'm rocking shirtless, he says. Okay, fair enough. And get better, Andrew. Thanks a lot. Yeah, take it easy, mate. Some Gumper dust for you. And a very interesting, I thought, today, the evil spirits of 2023. What are they? I think we'll come back to that. We'll certainly touch upon it, I think, on Wednesday when we have the chat with Andrew Bryant about self-leadership, sovereignty, and dealing with disagreement. Yes, that's going to be useful, I think, isn't it, for our continued endeavour on this open-minded, open-hearted Iberian FM phone-in. Have a super day, and we'll see you tomorrow morning. Take care, bye for now. Have a wonderful May Day in whichever way you celebrate it, and do what you can to keep those evil spirits at bay. Ciao, ciao.